Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Royal Beast. Little Fox Evolves Nine-Tailed Sky Fox. Chapter 41. Time passed slowly. After defeating Lu Fang Piaoshui, under the strong request of King Kong Ape King, Su Yun continued to fight again. But after the opponent, maybe the level of Beast Master is too high, but its strength is weaker than that of Lu Fang Piaoshui's Earth Dragon Beast. After all, only Beast Masters below the 4th rank are allowed to participate in the battle. Lu Fang Piaoshui is already the best among the 3rd-tier Beast Masters. So after Su Yun cast gigantic, fights also tend to end in a short time. 81 games, 85 games, 90 games. After Su Yun's 93 victories, all the audience has gone completely crazy. It's come this far, oh my god, is the 100-game winning streak really going to be born? Not necessarily. Don't forget that Xingshe in Bai, who won 95 consecutive victories not long ago, is also a real monster. But Bai Xingshe hasn't logged in for several days. Can they really meet together? All of a sudden, Su Yun, nicknamed Xiao Bai, has become a man of the day in this Yum contest. But in such discussions, Su Yun has left the battle platform. Did not continue to fight. Because of so many wars in a row. The King Kong Ape King's spirit has also been seriously burdened, and it will be harmful and useless to fight any further. Virtual World Metal Warehouse. Su Yun exhaled lightly, rubbed his temples, and the expression on his face was a little tired. It seems that the battle is not only a burden on the spirit of the beast, it is also the same for people. Su Yun muttered to himself in a low voice, and immediately manipulated the virtual panel in front of him to directly log into the mall in the battlefield. 93 wins in a row, 1900 points in total. Su Yun looked at his points panel, nodded slightly, and went directly to the redemption page. All of a sudden, a wide variety of prizes. It has densely filled the entire virtual screen. Whether it is a variety of resources, it's also a magic book. It can be said to have everything that one expects to find. As expected of the Sea Blue Federation operating, it does have a profound foundation. Su Yun looked at the items above, with a look of admiration on his face. Well, is this a black iron crystal? Su Yun's expression moved, his eyes stayed in one place, and a touch of joy flashed in his eyes. Black iron crystal, an extremely precious resource, with the power to speed up the growth of the Beast Master, and even the evolution of a specific Beast Master, it is absolutely priceless. What's more, this is one of the materials needed for the evolution of the 3-tailed fox. All this time since, although a large number of resources have been converted into resource points. But he never forgot to collect the evolution materials of the 2 royal beasts. Although a lot has been collected, but the rest are extremely precious, at least they are hard to find in the market in Jinfeng City. Among them are black crystals. This is definitely a priceless item. Do you need 2000 points? Su Yun glanced at the price, and a smile formed on the corner of his mouth. With the points he has gained after winning streak, after the 100-game winning streak, he can definitely collect 2000 points. After determining the exchange target, Su Yun had already left the internet cafe, went to Chengdong, bought 2 tubes of spiritual potion suitable for the cultivation of 2nd-level beast masters, and returned home. Come, this is dinner for the 2 of you. Su Yun put the prepared food in front of the 2 beasts, sat cross-legged on the carpet himself, first drank a tube of spiritual potion, and entered the state of cultivation. Early the next morning, Su Yun had finished his training with a refreshed face, and brought the 2 beasts into the beast familiar space. Immediately, Su Yun went to the internet cafe again and entered the virtual battle platform. Continue to start the battle. Su Yun still chose to use King Kong Ape King. After all, compared to Xiao Bai, who has experienced a lot of life and death battles, King Kong Ape King needs these combat experiences even more. With yesterday's exaggerated performance, basically Su Yun just had a match. The number of viewers who choose to watch him fight has skyrocketed. Some people even got up early in the morning just to wait for Fuyun's battle. Haha, Xiao Bai has won another game. It seems that today is expected to achieve a 100-game winning streak. That's not necessarily true. Didn't you see that Bai Xingshe also landed, probably feeling the danger, and wanted to launch an impact on Bailian Shang? After all, according to the rules, only the first person who succeeds can win the mysterious prize. What? This is exciting now. With the matching system of the virtual battle platform, the two of them will definitely meet. That's right, let's wait for a fight between dragons and tigers. Under the eager anticipation of all the audience, what they expected finally happened. With Su Yun's winning streak reaching 99 games, after waiting for half an hour, the match was finally completed. And his opponent, impressively, it is another big favorite, Bai Shengxie, who has also achieved a 99-game winning streak. Under the spotlight, Su Yun and Bai Shengxie had already appeared in the battlefield at the same time. You have also reached 99 consecutive victories, which is really dangerous. Shengxie in white looked at Su Yun in the distance, with a faint smile on his lips, and said, "There were some urgent matters that were delayed, but I didn't expect you to be the first to succeed. Isn't this very good? Since you and I met under such circumstances, of course I have to convince you to lose." Su Yun said slowly. "Haha, I hope you can still be so arrogant in a while." Bai Shengxie laughed loudly and said, "Come out, Lord of the Marsh." The words of Bai Shengxue echoed in the air. The summoning circle has emerged on the battlefield. An extremely tall, pitch-black figure has appeared on the ground. Name: King of the Swamp. Level: Command the 9 layers. Talent: Top recovery talent, low defense talent. Attribute: Water, Soil. Bloodline: Inferior King. Skills: Whirlpool Water Blade, Ground Burrow, Earth Thorn, Giant Fist, Water Thorn. Roar. As soon as the Swamp King appeared, he let out a roar, sweeping away in all directions with a violent aura. Even across the big screen, all the audience seemed to feel the bursts of suffocation. This is Bai Shengxue's trump card. The King of the Swamp, who only has the blood of a king, is indeed extremely terrifying. And its strength has improved again, reaching the level of commanding Zhejiang. Now Xiaobai is in danger. Some viewers shook their heads slightly, starting to worry about Su Yun. They have already guessed the reason why King Kong Ape King is so strong. Very likely to have royal blood. And the current King of the Swamp is also of king-level blood. Thus, the King of the Swamp, whose level has an absolute advantage, is likely to be overwhelming. It turned out to be the King of the Swamp with the blood of a king, and he is indeed the opponent in the final battle. Su Yun looked at the Swamp King, and a serious look flashed across his face. Phew! The Vajra Ape King let out a loud cry, but the expression on his face was full of excitement, and his violent fighting spirit soared into the sky. He can feel it. The invisible oppression exudes from the Swamp King. This is far from being comparable to the previous opponents. It seems that you are very satisfied with this opponent. Su Yun looked at the excited Vajra Ape King and said with a smile. In this case, let him see how powerful you are. Vajra Ape King, use the strange power to explode and defeat it. Received the order from Su Yun, King Kong had already exploded with all his strength, and rushed towards the direction of the Swamp King. At this time, the King Kong Ape King didn't have the slightest reservation. He has brought his speed to the limit. Indistinctly. In the eyes of all the audience, it seems that there are afterimages left on the air. Facing the speed of the Vajra Ape King, Bai Shengxue's expression remained unchanged. He had already studied Su Yun's information and knew that King Kong's speed was impressive, so he had already secretly sent orders through voice transmission. Soil spurs. The footsteps of the Swamp King stomped hard on the ground, and soil thorns stretched out from the ground, blocking the way of the King Kong Ape King. Roar. The Vajra Ape King roared and waved his fist, and a large number of soil thorns were swept away. But also because of this, the King Kong Ape King's speed has been greatly hindered, allowing the Swamp King to seize the opportunity to dodge and come to the side of the Diamond King Ape King. King of the Swamp, use the giant fist. The Swamp King raised a fist, which began to inflate like a balloon, and slammed it hard at King Kong's temple. The Vajra Ape King smiled contemptuously, showing unimaginable agility. While turning around, he punched out directly. The terrifying power caused ripples visible to the naked eye to appear in the air, and an ear-piercing whine sounded. Boom! The fists of the Vajra Ape King and the Swamp King had already collided. The two berserk forces crushed each other. The ground under the feet of the two beasts has been completely shattered. Next moment, The Swamp King let out a wail, and retreated from the bombardment, with traces of blood dripping from his fist. The Vajra Ape King wanted to take advantage of the victory to pursue, but at this moment, Shungshe in white made a move. Spirituality, charm. A strange aura descended directly on King Kong's Ape King, causing a trace of confusion to appear in his eyes, and he just stood there. It's now, use the stinger to end it. Bai Shungshe shouted. Enduring the pain in his arm, the Swamp King had already launched an attack brazenly. A large amount of water elements on one finger began to gather, turning into extremely sharp water thorns, and went straight to the weakest eye of King Vajra Ape King's body. I didn't expect Bai Shungshe to have spiritual magic. It's over now. No matter how rough the skin and flesh of the Vajra Ape King, the eyes are definitely the weakest part. I'm afraid it will be killed in one blow. Sigh, the defeat is really not worth it. Xiao Bai is really too careless, he didn't show his strength at all, and he will be defeated by Bai Shungshe. All the audience saw this scene, and all the faces were full of regret. HMPH, your combat experience is too lacking after all. I hope this failure can teach you a lesson. Bai Shungshe looked at all this with a hint of arrogance in his eyes, as if he had already seen himself winning 100 points. Streak Scene 2. But at this moment, Su Yun's playful voice sounded. You don't think you're the only one who knows spiritual skills, do you? Between voices, everyone's eyes widened. Boom. A large amount of spiritual power erupted from Su Yun's hands, forming a shock wave like a substance, tearing the air easily, and hitting the Swamp King directly. The Swamp King, who was suddenly attacked, staggered and flew straight out, hitting the ground hard. What kind of spiritual technique is this that has such great power? A look of astonishment flashed in Bai Shungshui's eyes. Such a powerful attack spirit. It was the first time he saw it. And at this moment, the audience in the audience also froze in place, exclaiming one after another. Oh my God, how strong! Did you see that the spiritual power he used definitely did not exceed the second level, but he possessed such terrifying destructive power that he could knock the Swamp King into the air. All the audience were dumbfounded. They know deep down what that means. If this blow fell on the body of an ordinary supernatural beast, the damage would not be even more terrifying. Isn't this an explanation? With this spirit technique, Su Yun himself has quite terrifying fighting power. At the same time, the Vajra Ape King also let out an earth-shattering roar, forcibly breaking away from Bai Shungshui's control. Its eyes are full of anger. This guy dared to rape him. Let it appear momentarily absent. He gave Bai Shungshui a hard look. The figure of the Vajra Ape King jumped up and rushed towards the Swamp King. Su Yun also pointed out that the gigantism has been blessed on King Vajra Ape King. Roar! King Kong Yuan let out an earth-shattering roar. His figure had already reached 10 feet away, and his huge fist had already smashed down. Boom! Under this punch, the entire arena was already surging, as if the surrounding air had been completely mobilized by this punch. What? Feeling the stinging wind, Bai Shungshui also had a look of shock on his face, and said hastily. King of the Swamp, use burrow. Facing the King of the Swamp, who also showed fear on his face this day, he also woke up like a dream when he heard the master's order, and quickly dug the ground with both hands. But for a moment, the whole body has completely submerged into the earth. Boom! King Vajra Ape King's punch hit the ground, and a huge depression 10 feet away appeared on the ground, and the terrifying aftermath rolled away in all directions. And on the ground, a stream of blood was spattered out, and the wailing of the Swamp King was uttered. Even the aftermath of King Kong Ape King's terrifying punch caused considerable damage to the Swamp King, who was hiding underground. The reaction is quick, but you don't think that I have nothing to do with you in the ground, do you? Su Yun looked at the pool of blood on the ground, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. His own perception had easily locked on the position of the Swamp King, and he gave an order to the Vajra Ape King. The Swamp King is in front of you at 1 o'clock, 3 steps away underground. The Vajra Ape King, who was unable to lock onto the position of the Swamp King, his eyes lit up. He had already taken huge strides, and arrived at that spot in an instant, and slammed his fists down hard. Boom! The terrifying power erupted in an instant, and the ground under the King Kong Ape King's fists completely exploded. The entire battlefield was shaken for a while, as if an earthquake had occurred. The audience who saw this scene were all shocked. If you put yourself in the shoes, I'm afraid the aftermath of this pair of fists. You can completely defeat them. With such terrifying power, is this guy really the beast familiar who commands the second level? Even if you have the blood of a king, it is too exaggerated. A look of fear flashed across Bai Shengshui's face. If this is not on the virtual battle platform, his safety is protected. I'm afraid he couldn't bear to summon the second beast to save his life. And at this moment, the Swamp King, who was under the ground, let out a miserable roar again, spitting out a lot of blood from his mouth. The impact of that force wounded him again, although the injury was not fatal. But definitely not for long. King of the Swamp. Bai Shengshui also sensed the state of the Swamp King. A venomous look flashed in his eyes, and a spiritual spell had already come out of his hands. Spiritual spell, water system boost. Directly increase the power of the Swamp King's water attribute skills. King of the Swamp, use the vortex blade with all your might. Roar. The Swamp King let out a ferocious roar, and a torrent of water erupted from his body. Boom. The already broken ground has been completely washed away by the water flow, and the entire battlefield seems to have turned into a river. Countless water flows have turned into incomparably sharp water blades, tearing the air with ease, and the Vajra Ape King on the ground has been completely destroyed. The shroud completely blocked all his room to dodge. What? The audience who thought Wu Yun had an absolute advantage were also surprised. Unexpectedly, Shengshui and Bai launched such a Jedi counterattack. What a terrifying destructive power! Even with the use of spiritual spells, the destructive power of this skill is outrageous. Has it reached the level of limit skills? Everyone was amazed by it. Unexpectedly, Bai Shengshui hid such a killer trick. The current situation has the potential to turn the tide of battle. Naively, Vajra Ape King, use hardening and smashing punches to crush his last fantasy. Su Yun said coldly. A solemn expression appeared on the face of the King Kong Ape King, and his whole body was covered with a metallic luster, and he started to punch. Pooh! A series of vortex water blades fell on his body, breaking through the hardened defense, leaving a series of bloodstains. But it still didn't stop him from punching. And with this fist handed out, everyone's faces showed dull expressions. Click! A deafening crackling sound echoed in the air. Under the fist of the Vajra Ape King, countless cracks have already appeared, whether it is the air or the ground, all of them appear to be smashed. This punch, the Vajra Ape King didn't have any reservations. It seems that even space will be shattered. Under everyone's shocking and incredible gaze, the earth shattered and disappeared in an instant. The whirlpool water escape suddenly stagnated, and then completely disappeared. Silently, the entire battlefield, even most of them have disappeared. The body of the Swamp King has disappeared without a trace. Above the entire ground, only the figure of King Vajra Ape, who looks like a demon god, made everyone lose their minds. But in the next moment, announcement of the battle platform. It began to resound in the entire virtual space. Congratulations to player Xiao Bai, who is the first to win 100 consecutive victories in the 99th district, rewarded with 1,000 points, and won the mysterious prize. Congratulations to player Xiao Bai, who is the first to win 100 consecutive victories in the 99th district, rewarded with 1,000 points, and won the mysterious prize. Quote. Quote. The entire battle platform was notified 10 times in a row. All of a sudden, not just in District 99 where Su Yun is located. Even in the entire virtual battle space, Su Yun caused an uproar. Oh my god, it's only been a few days since the event started, yet someone has won 100 consecutive victories. What kind of monster is this person? I'm only 10 games away. I struggled for days and nights, but I was beaten by others. I don't know which veteran tier 3 beast master this Xiao Bai is, or some monstrous genius. It's really terrifying. Countless people are talking about it. But this has nothing to do with Su Yun. Because he has exited the virtual battle platform and returned to the metal cabin. I didn't expect that there would be an extra surprise of 1,000 points. The battle platform is not too stingy. Su Yun looked at his points, and couldn't hide the smile on his face. And at this moment, a prompt appeared on the virtual panel in front of him. Congratulations to the player for winning the mysterious prize. Please fill in the delivery address. The mysterious prize will be sent by express. Seeing this, Su Yun added his home address without any hesitation. Immediately, Su Yun spent 2,000 points and bought the black crystal without hesitation. Next, he began to browse the exchange page quickly, looking for the items he needed. Su Yun first focused on the resource interface, but apart from black crystals, he did not find the evolution materials needed for the two beasts, so he had to settle for the next best thing and buy a few tubes of spiritual potions. Immediately, Su Yun bought a few more spirit spells. Spiritual lightning, it can reduce weight and greatly increase speed. Spiritual art fire attribute amplification, it can amplify fire type skills and enhance their power. Spiritual ice attribute amplification, it can amplify ice type skills and enhance their power. Among them, lightening the body is the spiritual art that Su Yun chose for himself. Whether it is to save his life or to hurry, the effect is quite good. As for the other two spirit techniques, they were all prepared for Xiaobai, which was enough to make him stronger. After buying these, all Su Yun's points have been completely consumed. Time flies. After Su Yun won 100 battles in a row, he did not continue to fight in the virtual world. Instead, he devoted himself wholeheartedly to cultivation, preparing for the approaching college entrance examination. Basically practice spiritual power at night, and train the little white beasts in the elite teaching building during the day. Since this time, Su Yunjung has exchanged most of the spare money in his hands for some materials, and then exchanged them for resource points, investing them in the two beasts, such as upgrading the skills of Ice Fang and Death Crash, striving to reach the limit state as soon as possible. Under the double growth of training and adding points, Xiaobai's strength has been raised to the 7th level of leadership. The King Kong Ape King's strength has also reached the 4th level of command. This is the last tube of spiritual power potion, it should help me break through in one fell swoop. Su Yun felt the spiritual power in his body that was approaching the limit of the 2nd level, poured the spiritual power potion into his mouth without hesitation, and began to run the exercises with all his strength. Next moment, an extremely pure spiritual power erupted from Su Yun's body, shaking the surrounding furniture. The little white beasts who were eating food also showed curiosity. Time passed slowly. Su Yun's aura began to change, and the spiritual power in his whole body seemed to have broken through some kind of bottleneck, directly filling his body completely. Finally, the spiritual power on Su Yun finally stabilized completely. Have you finally reached the realm of a 3rd-tier beast master? Su Yun clenched his fists, feeling the strength in his body, and nodded in satisfaction. Him now has formed a preliminary combat effectiveness. At least he doesn't summon the Imperial beasts. With his current means, even facing some 3rd-order Imperial beasts, he still has a very strong life-saving force. And at this time, the doorbell rang. "Hello, is Mr. Xiaobai at home? Here is your courier." A gentle voice came, and Su Yun's expression changed immediately. Waited so long. Has the virtual world express finally arrived? Su Yun got up quickly and opened the door. Just as he expected. The person who delivered the courier this time was also the Beastmaster. Even under Su Yun's perception, there are some Beastmasters around who are in charge of vigilance. Su Yun is not surprised at all. Not to mention the mystery jackpot. The items he bought were worth a fortune. If not, be cautious. In case of an accident, it is a huge loss. Su Yun verified his identity, signed for the package, and took a huge metal box back to his room. Click. Su Yun opened the metal box, and the first thing that caught his eyes was a spar that was as black as ink and exuded faint waves. Sure enough, it's black crystal. Su Yun glanced at the attributes of the system, and put it into the space bag. Then he turned his attention to other items. Except black spar. There are also several books of spiritual art and another exquisitely shaped box. Su Yun first picked up the secret books of spiritual arts, and used the resource points left on purpose to complete the strengthening and upgrading of them. Spiritual Light Cloud Step, it can reduce weight, greatly increase speed, and move flexibly between square inches. Spiritual Art, Amplification of Fire, it can amplify fire skills, increasing its power by 5 times. Spiritual Art, Amplification of Ice, it can increase the power of ice-type skills by 5 times. All of a sudden, a lot of knowledge has emerged in Su Yun's mind. After Su Yun digested the knowledge, he finally looked at the small box. It still needs another identity verification. It seems that the things inside are really not simple. Su Yun looked it over, and then went through rather complicated procedures before finally opening it. All I saw was a pitch-black beast egg without any impurities lying quietly in the box. Name: Shadow Beast. Level: No. Talent: Top Speed Talent, Top Dark Control Talent, Advanced Recovery Talent. Attributes: Dark, Elemental. Bloodline: Middle King. Skills: Shadow Screen, Shadow Blade, Shadow Binding, Shadow Storm. It turned out to be the royal beast egg of a shadow beast. No wonder you are so careful. Su Yun looked at the attributes of the royal beast egg with a look of surprise on his face. Elemental beasts are not even cherished as much as pure blood dragons. And it also has the bloodline of a king, which is definitely priceless outside. It seems that my luck is indeed good. Just after breaking through, I have a third beast. Su Yun picked up a beast master with joy on his face, cast the summoning circle directly, and signed the summoning contract without hesitation. I hope you can be born soon. Su Yun patted the Imperial Beast egg and put it into the Imperial Beast space. The next day, in the advanced training ground rented by Su Yun. Right in front of him stood an extremely huge stone block. The surface of the stone block was quite smooth, and only a few potholes and scratches could be seen. Xiaobai was standing on the ground, and in his mouth, two different attribute energies, ice and fire, were constantly switching there. And around the site, all are traces of freezing and burning. Su Yun watched this scene nervously, with a large amount of medicine in his hand to treat his injuries. That's why. It originated from Su Yun's idea. He wanted to combine the two skills of Breath of Ice and Breath of Fire to create a brand new move. But all the time, it is very dangerous to create new moves based on the characteristics of the beast. This is a field that only some strong dare to set foot in. If it wasn't for Su Yun's promotion of Xiaobai's two top talents of controlling soldiers and controlling fire to a considerable extent, he would definitely not dare to try it rashly. Xiaobai, don't worry, you don't need to try to fuse these two powers now, you just need to control them. Su Yun pointed to Xiaobai carefully, and confessed his thoughts. Let the two be as close as possible. It is best not to let them influence each other, but to promote each other. For example, let them present a spiral state. After hearing what Li Mo said, Xiaobai also began to try to form a vortex of the two energies, trying his best to control them so as not to get out of control. As Xiaobai continued to increase the two forces, the two completely different forces began to become more and more unstable, as if they were about to collide, and they were all restrained by Xiaobai's strong control of the two attributes. Finally, the two powers of ice and fire in Xiaobai's mouth began to emit extremely terrifying energy fluctuations. Xiaobai, try launching it. Su Yun said. Boom. Xiaobai nodded. Flames and cold air spewed out of his mouth directly, forming an incomparably huge vortex, carrying an incomparably terrifying aura, and directly fell on the huge stone in the distance. Boom, accompanied by a huge roar. The surface of the huge stone in front began to show traces of flames and frost, and finally exploded completely torn apart, and turned into rubble on the ground. All of a sudden, the entire advanced training room was shaking. Such power. Su Yun tried his best to stand still, looking at the tiny gravel on the ground. A look of horror flashed in his eyes. Wu. Xiaobai was also taken aback. He couldn't believe that this was the damage he caused. Phew. The Vajra Ape King swallowed, and subconsciously glanced at Xiaobai. So scary. It seems that it is better to be less provocative for the time being. The Vajra Ape King was very sure that his defense was definitely not as strong as that boulder. Even the diamond stone is shattered like this. Su Yun sighed. This is the high-end training room that he rented at a high price. Although that boulder was unremarkable, it would be very difficult for an ordinary commanding beast, let alone damage it, or even leave a scratch on it. The power of the two attributes converges, repels and collides with each other, and the power that erupts is so terrifying. From now on, this move will be called the Ice and Fire Vortex. Su Yun stroked his chin, and casually named the new move. However, this move is very dangerous, and it seems to consume a lot of energy. It can only be used as a trump card, an ordinary existence. Su Yun looked at Xiaobai, who looked a little tired, and thought to himself. Just the initial convergence has such power. If the two completely different attributes are fully integrated, I am afraid it will be even more violent and terrifying. However, if you want to try again, I am afraid that you will have to upgrade the two talents of Xiaobai Bing and Huo again, to be safe. Next, Su Yun didn't tell Xiaobai to stop exercising. Although the ice and fire vortex has been initially completed, it still has certain flaws. That is when the skill is used, it takes too long to adjust the balance between ice and fire. So the next thing to do is to quickly shorten its time to reach the firing speed of general skills. Half a month later, the beast egg of the shadow beast is still lying quietly in the beast familiar space, without any sign of wanting to hatch. It is also rare for Su Yun not to practice, but Zhang Xiaobai and the two beasts entered the beast controlling space and left the house. Because today is the day when the college entrance examination has just begun. There are many universities in the entire Starfish Federation. The content of the college entrance examination is also set by each university itself, and it will be slightly different every year. The university chosen by Su Yun is Fengxing University, one of the highest universities in the entire Starfish Federation. As for Fengxing University's college entrance examination, the exam is divided into 3 sessions. The first 2 exams are preselections. Only all pass. It is also possible to determine whether to be admitted to Fengxing University based on the results of the 3rd test. The content of the test has long been made public. The content of the first exam is the simplest and crudest, which is to conduct a simple test on the Beast Master of the Beast Master. This is also the first screening, to eliminate some seriously insufficient strength, so that they have the opportunity to apply for other universities. The second round is the beginning of the difficulty. Fengxing University will target the imperial beasts in the wild near where the candidates are. Under the monitoring of the whole process, the candidates will hunt and kill them in person to complete this kind of test. This test not only tested the strength of the Beast Master, but also tested his ability to survive in the wild. This is also the exam with the greatest possibility of death among the 3. At last, the 3rd exam is actual combat, which will be conducted in the virtual world. The number of actual battles is 10. The specific scores will be based on all candidates, and admission will be based on merit. But under normal circumstances, as long as you pass 5 actual battles, the chance of admission will be more than 80%. Soon, Su Yun has come to the 3rd high school. This is the examination room of Fengxing University. But there are not many people here. Those who are not strong enough, all know that even if they try, it is a waste of time. People who come here, almost most of them are members of the elite classes of major high schools. Haven't entered school yet, Su Yun had already seen Gao Feng's figure. Standing next to him was his main beast familiar, the raging flame tiger, who was indescribably majestic and mighty. After the sprint over the past few months, Gao Feng has successfully broken through the 3rd rank of Beastmaster, and the strength of the flame tiger has even reached the 2nd rank of commander. Although the speed of progress is not as terrifying as Su Yun's, it is still very exaggerated. I don't know how many precious resources have been spent. Here, I knew that you would also come to take the exam at Fengxing University. The 2 of us must pass together. Gao Feng also noticed Su Yun and started waving quickly. Su Yun nodded, and walked towards the test site with the 2 of them. This is a huge battlefield. Has been divided into several regions. A large number of candidates are queuing up in an orderly manner. And right in front of every team, there will be a weird instrument. A teacher is standing next to him, recording the grades. The next candidate is Lu Yutong from 9th High School. The teacher glanced at the information on the list and said. Lu Yutong stepped forward and summoned his beast monitoring Black Armored Dragon. Black Armored Dragon, use the dragon's breath with all your strength. Lu Yutong commanded. Boom. The Black Armored Dragon opened its mouth wide, and the terrifying breath of the dragon hit the dragon's breath. The instrument shook for a while, and the 2 big characters, qualified, appeared on the screen of the instrument. Well, not bad, let's go to the next location. The teacher smiled gently and recorded the results. You are here too. Lu Yutong led the Black Armored Dragon towards Su Yun and the 2, especially when he saw Su Yun, there was a smile on his face, as if 100 flowers were blooming. Is this woman interested in Su Yun? Gao Feng glanced at the smile on Lu Yutong's face, and muttered in his heart. I'm handsome too, why doesn't anyone like me? Su Yun smiled back and asked. What's so special about that testing instrument, and to what extent can it pass the test? Hearing the mention of business, Gao Feng also pricked up his ears. The specific judgment situation is not clear. Lu Yutong shook his head and said. However, according to my observation just now, the teacher will adjust the testing machine according to the level of each beast master. I saw with my own eyes that many third-tier beast masters failed, but second-tier beast masters passed. So to be on the safe side, it's best not to be careless. Okay, I have to take the second exam, so please do your best. Lu Yutong waved his hand, bid farewell to the two and left. The third high school examination room. Su Yun and Gao Feng submitted the registration form and were divided into two different areas. Soon, the teacher called Su Yun's name. Su Yun, is that Su Yun from 9th high school? I heard that he swept the elite class of number 1 high school by himself, and he is a real evildoer. Hearing Su Yun's name, both the teacher and the students all changed their expressions and subconsciously looked in one direction. Su Yun stepped forward. Come out, Vajra Ape King. Su Yun's voice fell. Summon the fortune of the magic circle. The huge figure of the Vajra Ape King has slowly emerged. Do you command the triple? There seemed to be a flash of inspiration in the eyes of the test teacher, and he briefly operated the test machine. What are the criteria for passing? Su Yun glanced at the instrument and asked casually. You just need to shoot with all your strength. This is to get rid of some beasts that are too weak to grow and have unstable foundations. The teacher replied blankly. That's it. Su Yun nodded, and said to the Vajra Ape King. Vajra Ape King, the strange power explodes. Boom. The Vajra Ape King stepped forward. Muscles all over the body expand. An incomparably ferocious aura swept over. Boom. Accompanied by a huge roar. King Kong's punch has landed on the test machine. All of a sudden, the instrument on the test machine began to flicker continuously, and finally exploded directly, turning into scrap iron all over the floor. There was silence in the arena. The teacher's eyes widened, his face was filled with disbelief, and he froze on the spot. He knows it very well. The maximum endurance limit of this machine is Commander Kuno. What's happening now? To be blown away with a single punch by this imperial beast commanding the third level. The other students and teachers were also full of horror, and their eyeballs almost fell to the ground. It's their first time. I saw the scene where the test machine was blown up. Sure enough, this is a monster. Same idea emerges in everyone's mind. Quote. Su Yun's face was also a little confused. To be on the safe side, he let the Vajra Ape King use his skills. Who would have thought that this thing would be so easy to beat? That's it. Dare to make people go all out. Su Yun shook his head helplessly, saw the teacher with a blank face and said. Beforehand, this thing is too brittle, so don't expect me to lose money. Quote. The teacher is silent. After a while, he forced a smile and said. Congratulations on passing the test, now go to the 7th examination room. The 7th examination room. The number of people taking the exam here is countless times smaller than that of the outside world. A very spacious large indoor training ground. There are various imperial beasts standing on the left and right sides. The content of the test is very simple. Within a minute, under the siege of countless remote skills of beast masters, it is enough to successfully reach the end point. Boom. A candidate released his own beast, but before he ran far, he was hit by countless skills and fainted to the ground. Fail. The teacher next to him shook his head and said lightly. Next person. Over time, apparently candidates began to take the exam. But most of them fail. Most of the beast masters on both sides of the training ground have reached the leadership stage. Want to be under their siege. Reach the finish line within a minute. For the requirements of the beast master and the command of the beast master, the requirements can be said to be extremely high. Next, Su Yun. After chanting Su Yun's name, the teacher's tone was obviously paused, and he looked at Su Yun with curiosity. He already knew about the commotion caused by Su Yun just outside. Su Yun stepped forward slowly, and instead of sending out the Vajra Ape King, he summoned Xiao Bai. Start. As soon as the teacher's voice fell, everyone only felt a flash in front of their eyes, and a white light flashed in their eyes. Xiaobai's figure has reached the finish line at some point. Quote. Quote. All the imperial beasts on the left and right were at a loss. What just happened? Started. It has ended. What speed is this? I can't even see it at all. The examinees behind Su Yun all took a deep breath and looked at Su Yun's back with a hint of awe in their eyes. They were able to pass the first exam. All are the true pride of heaven. But the strength shown by Su Wuyun, it really impressed them deeply. That speed. If the battle of life and death. I'm afraid I haven't reacted yet. They will be instantly killed by this imperial beast. Passed. Please go to the examination room number 16 and take the next test. The teacher also looked at Su Yun with the eyes of a monster, and said in a trembling tone. For the next period of time. Su Yun played 5 more tests. The content of the exam can be said to be full of strange things, not only the test of the Beast Master, but also a very strict assessment of the quality of the Beast Master itself. It can be said that all aspects have been considered. But this is for Su Yun. All without the slightest difficulty. Basically every teacher's evaluation is perfect. Passed the first test straight away. Su Yutong and Gao Feng were both safe and sound. Although the results are not as exaggerated as Su Yun. Also got the tickets for the second exam. Haha, let's go, I'm happy today, I invite you to have a big meal. Gao Feng extended an invitation to Su Yun and Su Yutong very excitedly. Su Yun smiled and said, then you are ready to bleed. Lu Yutong glanced at Su Yun and nodded slightly. Within an office, a middle-aged man wearing black-rimmed glasses was working there. He is Xiao Feiyu, the person in charge of the college entrance examination of Fengxing Academy in Jinfeng City. It seems that this time Jinfeng City has a good seedling, and all the tests are perfect. Xiao Feiyu looked at Su Yun's results, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. I'm really looking forward to it. This kid's performance in the second exam. He muttered to himself in a low voice. Xiao Feiyu glanced at the teacher next to him and said, have the statistics of the imperial beasts suitable for the test in the wild in Jinfeng City been calculated? The teacher nodded and said, it has been counted, and it can fully satisfy the number of candidates who passed the first round this time. Here is the information. Xiao Feiyu took a brief look and said, it's done well, using the system to perform random matching, and then notify the candidate's school of the target. 9th High School, Zhou Daifeng's office. Su Yun has already opened the door and walked in. You are here, sit down. Seeing Su Yun coming, Zhou Daifeng showed a gentle smile on his rugged face. No teacher would dislike a gifted student like Su Yun. My hunted target has come out. Su Yun was also polite and sat on the chair casually. Zhou Daifeng nodded, took out a map and a technological ring and said, your goal is to lead the three-eyed wolf king of the 6th level. This map has the approximate location of his activities, and once he enters the field, he will put on the surveillance ring. This is to monitor whether the candidates have cheating methods. Speaking of which, Su Daifeng said with a serious face. The three-eyed wolf king is a beast that lives in groups. If you want to deal with it, don't fall into a siege. Although he has full confidence in Su Yun's strength. But Su Daifeng also knew. Crowd beasts and solitary beasts. The degree of danger is absolutely not the same. Don't worry, teacher. Su Yun waved his hand indifferently, picked up the map and monitoring ring, and walked out of the office. Field. This is not the first time Su Yun has come here. But the route is very strange. The area where the three-eyed wolf king was located was exactly the area that Su Yun had never set foot in. But compared to the previous two, Su Yun's face is full of confidence now. There is no longer the feeling of being overwhelmed by grass and trees before. This is entirely due to the huge improvement in strength. Him now, even in the entire Jinfeng City. Definitely a strong man. But Su Yun didn't get carried away. There is not an iota of relaxation where caution should be exercised. The breath-holding technique and perception are turned on at all times. Xiaobai is also leading the way. Once there is danger, it will also respond in the first time. And Su Yun's every move was also clearly transmitted to the office area where Fengxing University is located through the surveillance ring he carried on his body. The whole area is huge. There are countless giant virtual screens. All of the above are the actions of students who participated in the college entrance examination of Fengsing University. It's quite prudent to act, and has a good understanding of the wild. It seems that it is indeed not a flower in a greenhouse. Xiao Feiyu looked at Su Yun in the virtual screen, with a hint of admiration on his face. This is not his first time as city chief. I have also seen too many geniuses who are good in strength but disappointing when they come to the wild to experience life and death. And Su Yun, obviously not on this list. This candidate's goal this time is the three-eyed wolf king. I'm afraid it won't be that easy. Another teacher shook his head. The three-eyed wolf king who lives in groups has a large number of blue wolves as subordinates. If not planned properly, even some teachers among them may capsize in the gutter. In any case, let us wait and see. There was a smile on the corner of Xiao Feiyu's mouth, looking at the virtual screen where Su Yun was. His face was full of anticipation. And at this moment, Su Yun was already leading Xiao Bai through the forest quickly, under the perception of a full 100 meters. Some very definite trouble. All were dodged by Su Yun in advance. Su Yun frowned suddenly and stopped walking. Woo! Xiao Bai also made low noises, and looked straight ahead. Crack, crack. All I saw was that the trees in front of him began to collapse rapidly, and a stench came towards us. A huge monster had already blocked Su Yun's way. It was a huge centipede about 1 foot long, and each centipede's feet were like sharp steel knives, shining with bursts of cold light. Name: Poisonous Centipede. Level: Command the 5th level. Talent: High level Speed Talent, Low level Defense Talent. Attribute: Poison, Insect. Bloodline: Middle Lord. Skills: Venom, Strangling, Poisonous Needle. CC. The poisonous centipede made a deep sound, looking at Su Yun with greed. Is this treating me as a prey? It seems that this guy has eaten something that shouldn't be eaten. Su Yun looked at the giant poisonous centipede, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Xiao Bai, let this royal beast be handed over to the Vajra Ape King for training. Su Yun said something to Xiao Bai. Woo! Xiao Bai uttered a cry, and his figure had leapt up, reaching the place that belonged to him on Su Yun's shoulder. Come out, Vajra Ape King. As soon as Su Yun's voice fell, the summoning circle emerged. Boom! Between earthquakes. The huge figure of King Vajra Ape has already appeared on the ground. He didn't hide the fierce aura all over his body, staring at the poisonous centipede. CC. Feeling the aura of the Vajra Ape King, a trace of fear flashed in the eyes of the poisonous centipede, but after glancing at Su Yun, he was still a little unwilling. You wanna die? Su Yun's expression turned cold, and he shouted. Kill it, Vajra Ape King. After receiving Su Yun's order, King Kong Ape King, who was already very unhappy with the eyes of the poisonous centipede, rushed over. Swish! The ground trembled and the mountains shook. The Vajra Ape King has already come in front of the poisonous centipede. The highly poisonous centipede did not expect that King Kong's speed was so fast, and before he had time to react, King Kong's 2 big hands had already grabbed his sides. Roar! The Vajra Ape King raised his head to the sky and roared. Under the burst of strange power, his whole body had already swelled up, and the terrifying power instantly slanted out. Crack! Puff! The poisonous centipede only had time to let out a wail before its entire body was completely torn apart, and a large amount of blood spattered out. Laugh! 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 The highly poisonous centipede's eyes were full of hatred, and the poisonous needles poured out towards the Vajra Ape King who was close at hand. Hardening. There was a metallic luster on King Vajra Ape King's body, and he didn't dodge at all. All the poisonous needles landed on King Vajra Ape King's skin, and they couldn't do any damage at all, and they were all bounced off one after another. Phew! The Vajra Ape King smiled disdainfully, threw the head of the poisonous centipede on the ground, stretched out his big foot and stomped on it, completely ending the life of this royal beast. Quote. Looking at such a scene, all working members of Fengsing University all fell into silence. Perhaps the hunting target this time is really not too difficult for him. A teacher muttered to himself in a low voice. This should be the habitat of the three-eyed wolf king, but I don't know where it is. Su Yun glanced at the map in his hand and muttered to himself. Woo! Xiao Bai yelled at Su Yun. Let me follow you. Woo! Xiao Bai nodded, and jumped up from Su Yun's shoulder. Su Yun and the Vajra Ape King quickly followed. It didn't take long to go out. A strong smell of blood. It has been floating in the air. There were bursts of wolves moaning in front of them. Su Yun came to a big tree and looked over. All I saw was that the front seemed to have become a battlefield. Two races of beasts are fighting each other there. Name: Blue Wolf. Level: Extraordinary Eightfold. Talent: Low level Speed Talent. Attribute: Common. Bloodline: Moderately Extraordinary. Skills: Howling, Tearing, Biting. Name: Jackal Beast. Level: Extraordinary 7th level. Talent: Low level Recovery Talent. Attribute: Common. Bloodline: Moderately Extraordinary. Skills: Culling, Tracking, Cleaving Blood Claw. This kind of thing happened. Su Yun was also a little stunned. His eyes looked towards the deepest part of the battlefield. I only saw two behemoths, fighting selflessly there. Name: Three-Eyed Wolf King. Level: Command the 6th level. Talent: Intermediate Speed Talent. Attribute: Common. Bloodline: High Commander. Skills: Howling, Tearing, Biting, Bristle Needle. Name: Jackal Dog. Level: Command the 7th level. Talent: Intermediate Recovery Talent. Attribute: Common. Bloodline: Middle Commander. Skills: Culling, Tracking, Cleaving Blood Claw, Sonic Roaring Bomb. It seems that the Shiba Go beast led by Jackal Dog wants to fight for the territory of the Three-Eyed Wolf King, so is there a fight? Su Yun took a brief look. The situation in the field has been determined. Although the Three-Eyed Wolf King's individual strength is stronger, but the number of Jackal Dogs is several times that of Blue Wolves. Keep playing like this. It is not yet known who will win the battle. What should I do? There was a playful look on Su Yun's face. And at this time the monitoring office area. All the teachers of Fencing University are also a little speechless. This kind of thing happened. Su Yun, the candidate, is really lucky. A teacher was a little dumbfounded. Yeah, as long as this candidate is patient, he can wait until the critical moment to grab the head. Compared with facing a group of people, it is too easy. Another teacher also smiled wryly. No matter what, as long as there is no suspicion of cheating, no matter what method he uses to pass this exam, it is fine. Xiao Feiyu shook his head. He didn't expect this to happen either. But this is also impossible. Luck is sometimes a kind of strength. But at this moment, Su Yun took the Vajra Ape King away from the hiding uncle and walked forward. What does he want to do? A teacher saw this scene with a look of astonishment on his face. The other teachers also had their eyes widened, and their expressions were a little confused. He only saw that Su Yun had crossed the grass and entered the battlefield. What on earth is he thinking? Don't you know it's dangerous? A teacher cried out. As a human being, Haoran entered into the war between the two races of beasts, and it is very likely that they will cause hostility from both sides at the same time. And then attacked by both parties. This is basic common sense. Didn't the school teach him to do it? This is simply to forcibly increase the difficulty of the exam. I leave it to you, Vajra Ape King, kill as much as you want. Su Yun patted the arm of the Vajra Ape King, and said calmly. The Vajra Ape King nodded, his eyes filled with excitement, and he was already taking firm steps towards the direction of the Three-Eyed Wolf King and Jackal Dog. Su Yun stroked Xiaobai's hair, his face extremely calm. If it was when it was weak at the beginning. Of course you have to choose the best solution. And now he didn't think these imperial beasts would bother him. Wow, woof. Ah, the appearance of the Vajra Ape King immediately attracted the attention of both sides in the battle. Whether it was the Blue Wolf or the Jackal Beast, they all subconsciously stopped fighting and stared fiercely at the Vajra Ape King. Next moment, both sides let out an angry growl. He rushed in the direction of the Vajra Ape King. They want to tear apart an enemy who dares to intervene in their battle. Vajra Ape King, harden, and then death charge. Su Yun ordered immediately. Roar. The Vajra Ape King uttered a sky-shattering roar, his whole body exuded a metallic luster, and he rushed over like a mountain avalanche. Boom, boom, boom. Before the Vajra Ape King took a step, the entire battlefield shook for a while, and the ground continued to explode. Pooh, pooh. Facing the charge of the Vajra Ape King, the imperial beasts on both sides who had just rushed up didn't even have time to wail, their entire bodies were immediately broken and fractured, completely dying on the spot. Wherever you go, there was nothing that could stop the Vajra Ape King's steps, leaving a road made of flesh and blood directly on the battlefield. Xiaobai, breath of ice. Su Yun said via voice transmission. Xiaobai jumped up, opened his mouth slightly, and the endless cold air had already bloomed. Boom! A terrifying cold wind erupted instantly, sweeping across the audience with ease, as if it wanted to completely freeze everything. The terrifying cold wind descended completely. All the imperial beasts didn't even react, they were already covered by the cold wind. Some blue wolves and jackals tried to dodge. But the range covered by the breath of ice is really too wide, and the speed is extremely fast. They are only just beginning to move. The figure has already stagnated in place. Under the cover of the endless cold wind, it was completely turned into an ice sculpture on the ground, and its life was completely taken away at that moment. Xiaobai's figure stepped on the ice, and his three tails swayed in midair. It was as if she was the high and mighty queen of ice, watching the remaining imperial beasts present with cold and ruthless eyes. Boom, boom, boom. Between tremors, the Vajra Ape King was drenched in blood, and had already blazed a trail to the battlefield between the three-eyed Wolf King and the Jackal Dog. The two leaders of the headquarters had already stopped. Seeing the enemy that appeared recently, there was no communication at all. They had already opened their bloody mouths and rushed in the direction of the Vajra Ape King. The Vajra Ape King grinned, clenched his fists completely, and blasted in two directions. Boom, boom, accompanied by two roars. The bodies of the three-eyed Wolf King and Jackal Dog were directly blown apart by the terrifying power of King Kong Ape King, and a lot of blood splashed into the sky. Under the double fist, the two beasts died instantly. Surveillance area. All the teachers of Fengsing University stared wide-eyed, with surprise in their eyes. Although I have long recognized that Su Yun is very strong. But isn't this a bit too exaggerated? Surrounded by hundreds of wild beasts. But only in the blink of an eye. Just kill their leader directly. At the same time, watching the tragic death of the two leaders. Instead of retreating, all the royal beasts were aroused fiercely, and even directly locked their targets on Su Yun, roaring and rushing over. Oh, you still have a lot of backbone. Su Yun looked at these imperial beasts in surprise, but then shook his head. But unfortunately, it doesn't make any sense. Little Bai, get rid of them. Xiaobai's ears moved, and his whole body seemed to turn into a flash of white light, rushing into the herd of beasts. Pooh, pooh, a lot of blood spattered. Xiaobai seemed to have turned into a death god, and every claw would take away the life of a royal beast. Roar. The Vajra Ape King was also not to be outdone, and entered the battlefield with heavy steps. Boom, boom, boom. Intense vibrations resounded through the scene. Compared to Xiaobai, the battle of the Vajra Ape King can only be described as brutal. With every punch, one of the beasts will be sent flying, and even the few beasts hit will lose their ability to fight. Is this Su Yun really a high school student? Is it a bit too exaggerated? The teacher of Fengsing Academy watched this scene and swallowed secretly. At this time, Su Yun was in their eyes. Even compared to the favored ones in Fengsing University. I'm afraid it's not too bad. I don't know how long I did it. The entire battlefield has been in a mess. Xiaobai, who was covered in blood, and the Vajra Ape King had already returned to Su Yun's side. Su Yun looked at the two beasts and shook his head slightly. It seems that there is an opportunity to learn a cleansing spiritual art. Immediately, Su Yun said to the prison ring. I should have passed the test. Hear this sentence. Everyone in the monitoring area looked at Xiao Feiyu. It depends on what I do. Do you have any doubts about his grades? Xiao Feiyu said speechlessly. The test result is perfect, enter the file. There is also the removal of the monitoring ring to end this exam. Hear Xiao Feiyu's words. All the people immediately began to operate. Click. The monitoring ring fell off and was held in Su Yun's hand. It seems to have passed. Su Yun nodded, directly closed the monitoring ring completely, and then put it into the bottom layer of the backpack behind him. Although it is required for the exam, it still made him a little uncomfortable. Immediately, Su Yun began to clean up the battlefield. In his opinion, the hundreds of corpses of royal beasts in the field are all resource points. It took a while. Su Yun looked at the rapidly increasing resource points on his system panel, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Immediately afterwards, Su Yun did not return the same way. Instead, continued to explore the wild. The duration of the second exam is 7 days. Now is just the beginning. Now that we have come here. He wasn't in such a hurry to go back. He was escorted by Xiaobai and King Kong Ape King. Su Yun also went deeper and deeper in the field. The imperial beasts encountered are getting stronger and stronger. But relative, the resources encountered are also becoming more and more abundant. Sure enough, the wild is a real treasure. Su Yun plucked a white-green fruit that can heal injuries, and sighed. Just this one fruit. I'm afraid it's worth the money that ordinary people may not be able to earn in a year. Phew. At this moment, the King Kong ape became excited and kept pointing in one direction. Su Yun's eyes flickered, and he immediately let the Vajra Ape King lead the way. It was able to make the Vajra Ape King so excited. I'm afraid I've found something remarkable. Soon, Su Yun had passed through layers of jungle, and an open place appeared in front of him. The earth here is an eerie silvery white. It seemed to be corroded by some kind of breath. Su Yun looked at it for a moment, but his pupils shrank slightly, and they landed on a small grass that almost blended with the color of the ground. Name: Silver Flower Grass. Efficacy: it can promote the growth of steel-type beasts, and has a certain chance of purifying blood. No wonder the Vajra Ape King is so excited. A look of surprise flashed in Su Yun's eyes. Whether it is to promote the growth of the imperial beast, or to purify the blood. This silver flower grass is a real priceless treasure for steel-type beasts. Even outside, I don't know how many beast masters will take action to snatch it. Phew. The Vajra Ape King looked at Su Yun anxiously, waiting for his instructions. Su Yun waved his hand, signaling the Vajra Ape King to calm down, and spread his perception with all his strength. Next moment, Su Yun's expression couldn't help but immediately shouted. Leave here. Between voices, Su Yun had already cast the spiritual spell Light Cloud Step, and walked towards the distance. The little white beasts also did not dare to neglect. The figure jumped up directly. And at this time, a somewhat angry roar came from the ground. All I could see was that the ground where Su Yun and the others were standing had been completely shattered. Immediately afterwards, a huge figure 10 feet away has jumped out of the ground. This is a giant python whose whole body looks like a rock, exuding an extremely fierce aura. At this time, he was staring at Su Yun and the two beasts. All eyes are full of greed. Name: Rock Python. Level: Second level of the Lord. Talent: Advanced Defensive Talent, Low-level Recovery Talent. Attribute: Soil. Bloodline: Middle Lord. Skills: Rock Explosion, Ground Drilling, Rock Flick, Rock Skin. What a sinister fellow. Su Yun stared at the giant rock python with a gloomy expression on his face. Roar. The giant rock python circled around and let out low growls. Its eyes were full of humanized banter, and it slowly approached Su Yun. Although its movements seem random, but no one believed it. Between Setsuna, the rock python will launch a deadly offensive. Phew. The Vajra Ape King roared, but walked out slowly, just blocking the rock python. Watch it all. The eyes of the giant rock python were even more contemptuous. The little guy at the commander level. How dare you run away from it? How stupid. But the next moment, the eyes of the rock python have changed. Hardening, muscle burst, spiritual art, to become gigantic. A succession of skills and spirit spells erupted instantly. All of a sudden, the body of the Vajra Ape King became more than 10 times larger, and a violent aura instantly swept across the audience. The Vajra Ape King at this moment, directly into the strongest state. Come on, Vajra Ape King, death charge. Su Yun gave the order. Boom, boom, boom. King Kong Ape King quick start. Already rushed in the direction of the rock python. Roar. The giant rock python let out an angry growl. Its whole body was covered with rock skin, and it had already moved towards King Vajra Ape King. Boom. Accompanied by a violent roar. The two behemoths have collided together. The earth began to crack layer by layer. The giant rock python and King Kong Ape King all had ferocity in their eyes, and they started to fight directly. Boom, boom, boom. Between the two battles, the surrounding area was already trembling for a while. Countless trees were directly smashed, and the earth collapsed one after another. Su Yun briefly glanced at the battle, and stopped paying attention. Instead, he set his gaze behind a big tree and said, looking there for so long, shouldn't Mr. Huang Ke come out? As soon as Su Yun's voice fell, a figure has come out from behind the big tree. This person was wearing a black robe, and his face was completely covered by the black robe. To be so cautious and suspicious at such a young age is really terrifying for younger generations. The man in black robe walked forward slowly. Every step he takes, the breath on the body is stronger. In the end, the spiritual power of the whole body has reached an astonishing 4th level. It's not as good as you, a dignified 4th-tier powerhouse, but he still wants the Oriole to be behind. It's really ridiculous. A look of disdain appeared on Su Yun's face. Whatever you say, I've never been willing to care about the dead. The man in black sneered. Now that he has come out, I don't plan to stay alive. He is bound to win the silver flower grass. Yes, if you really have the ability. Su Yun smiled softly. Wu, Xiaobai blew in a low voice, and slowly appeared in front of Su Yun. His long and narrow eyes were filled with an incomparably icy chill. Just relying on a little fox that is not your main force to control beasts, you want to deal with me, it is really beyond your control. The man in black robe laughed, his face full of disdain and arrogance. In his opinion, Su Yun is just a tier 3 beastmaster, and having a beastmaster that can rival the rock python is already rare. It is simply impossible at his age to train a second familiar with a certain combat power. From a common sense point of view, the judgment of the man in black robe was not wrong. But it's a pity, the people he met kept hanging out. Come out, black wild beast, and get rid of this little fox. Following the words of the man in black robe, a summoning circle appeared in front of him. A violent breath has swept the audience. Name, Black Mad Beast. Level, Lord Triple. Talent, high-level strength talent, low-level recovery talent. Attribute, common. Bloodline, Middle Lord. Skills, tearing claws, crushing, roaring impact, death rush. Dare to talk nonsense just at this level. Su Yun looked at the black beast, with a look of indifference on his face, and said, Go, Xiaobai, a quick battle. Liberation from the source. Get Su Yun's order. Xiaobai, who had seen the black-robed man very upset for a long time, uttered a cry. Boom! The terrifying aura intertwined with ice and fire has erupted from its body, and its white hair is even more automatic without wind, and the terrifying aura directly sweeps in all directions. Feel the breath. A look of horror flashed in the eyes of the man in black robe. At this time, the threat Xiaobai brought to him, it has exceeded his imagination. Without the slightest hesitation, the black-robed man hastily shouted, Hurry up, black beast, attack with a roar. Some panicked black beasts also calmed down, opened their mouths wide, and let out a huge roar. The terrifying sound wave turned into an invisible impact, and it was already enveloped in Xiaobai's direction. Ice armor, Su Yun said lightly. Swish, Xiaobai's figure rushed out quickly, and an endless chill spread all over its body, turning into an incomparably exquisite armor, directly covering it completely. Boom, accompanied by a violent roar. The air seemed to explode. Under the inconceivable gaze of the man in black robe, Xiaobai actually suffered a blow from the black beast head-on without any damage, only a few cracks appeared on the outer armor. Swish, between strong winds, Xiaobai's figure has turned into a stream of white light and disappeared in place. Xiaobai, Ice Claw, Su Yun's words sounded. It was like the whisper of death. Pooh, the sound of blood spattering sounded. Xiaobai, who did not know when he appeared in front of the black beast, had already pierced through the black beast's body with his claws. Endless cold quickly poured into the black beast's body, and before he had time to struggle, Xiaobai had already bit his neck fiercely. Fang of Ice. Under the outbreak of dual skills, the black beast didn't even have time to howl, it was already cold and fell to the ground. Chapter 51. The Black Mad Beast. How is this possible? The black-robed man stared at all this with horror in his eyes. His main beast. It was actually easily killed by a commanding beast. Even if there is a difference in bloodlines, there shouldn't be such a big difference in strength. But the man in black robe has experienced many battles. After a short shock, spiritual energy surged all over his body. The summoning circle has emerged once again, accompanied by a beep. A black shadow has risen into the sky, hovering in the sky. Name, Hurricane Eagle. Level, Command the 9 layers. Talent, Intermediate Speed Talent, Low-Level Recovery Talent. Attribute, Wind. Bloodline, High Commander. Skills, Storm Blade, Storm Wind, High Altitude Dive. Hurricane Eagle, use the violent wind. The man in black robe said immediately. As the hurricane bird's wings vibrated, endless gusts of wind rippling out, covering the sky and covering the earth, engulfing Xiao Bai in the direction. Xiao Bai, the breath of fire. Su Yun said lightly. Xiao Bai immediately raised his head, looked at the endless gust of wind, his eyes seemed to be contemptuous, he opened his mouth slightly, and an extremely scorching breath rippling out. Boom! The mighty flames soared into the sky, turning into a shocking pillar of fire, as if the flames that could incinerate everything easily tore through the gust of wind, turning the front into a fiery red. Get out of the way, Hurricane Eagle. The black-robed man said via voice transmission. There is no need to remind, the Hurricane Eagle has already made dodge movements, dodging dangerously and dangerously, but one wing was still scorched black by the scorching breath, making it let out a sharp wail, even the flying posture is a little unstable. Hurricane Eagle, use the storm blade. The Hurricane Eagle circled around, with a look of resentment flashing in his eyes, and the wind blades made an ear-piercing sound of cutting through the air, like steel-like blades, falling towards Xiao Bai like a violent storm, directly blocking it has the possibility to dodge. Faced with all this, the corner of Xiao Bai's mouth showed a look of disdain, and the whole body was full of cold air, and the cracked ice armor had been repaired as before. Jingle! The sound of metal symphony resounded continuously. The wind blades fell on Xiao Bai's body one after another, unable to defeat the defense of the ice armor at all, and could not even leave the slightest trace on it. With only this level of attack, Xiao Bai ignores the Hurricane Eagle and directly deals with his master. Su Yun watched this scene, shook his head slightly, and ordered to Xiao Bai. Hurricane Eagle, you also attack the other party's master. The black-robed man cursed angrily, trying to force Xiao Bai to defend, but at the same time he chose to summon his third imperial beast. The summoning circle emerged. A humanoid royal beast with a pitch-black body that looked like weeds had appeared in front of the black-robed man. Name: Black Rope Grass. Level: Command the 6th level. Talent: Intermediate Defensive Talent, Low-Level Recovery Talent. Attribute: Wood. Bloodline: Middle Commander. Skills: Plant Restraint, Vine Shield, Vine Whip. Black Rope Grass, use the Vine Shield. The vines of the black rope grass were crisscrossing all over the body, and they began to intertwine crazily, forming an incomparably huge shield, directly covering himself and the gangster man completely. At the same time, the Hurricane Eagle has swooped down from the sky at an extremely fast speed, and there were bursts of cold light shining on its claws. Humph! Su Yun snorted coldly, and quickly raised one hand, and the spiritual power in his whole body surged wildly. Spiritual Impact. Boom! The mighty spiritual power turned into a shocking torrent, which landed on the Hurricane Eagle's body and directly sent it flying. And in another place, Xiao Bai had already launched a charge, and the ice armor all over his body had disappeared, replaced by endless flames. Boom! The flames exploded. The thick shield of vines disappeared in an instant, and the black rope grass didn't even have time to wail, its entire body was burned to death. Do not! The black-robed man looked at Xiao Bai, whose whole body was covered in flames, who was close at hand. He could only let out a terrified cry, and his consciousness fell into eternal silence. Roar! The giant rock python also noticed the battlefield here, and when he saw Xiao Bai showing his might, there was a trace of fear in his eyes. Boom! But just this distraction, King Kong's huge fist had already landed on his head, beating him dizzy. Immediately afterwards, the giant rock python has been attacked by King Vajra Ape like a storm, and there is no room for counterattack. Click! Finally, cracks emerged on the body of the giant rock python, and finally covered his whole body. Smash punch! The Vajra Ape King roared, and a white light that tore everything rippling from his fist landed fiercely on the body of the giant rock python. Boom! The power of terror erupted suddenly. The body of the rock python has completely exploded. You two did a great job. Su Yun started to clean the battlefield. First of all, he searched the body of the black-robed man, obtained nearly 10 million unregistered quota cards, and some rare materials, all of which he collected into the space bag. Then there was the corpse of the royal beast on the ground. Except for the beast core, most of the materials were converted into resource points by him. At last, Su Yun took the two beasts and came to the silver ground in front of him. No other abnormalities were found. The silver flower grass has already been picked. Phew! The Vajra Ape King looked at the silver flower grass with a look of longing on his face. Silver flower grass is for it. The attraction is simply too great. It can be sure that as long as it eats the silver flower grass, its own strength can definitely reach a whole new level. Give it to you, look at your anxious look. Su Yun shook his head amusedly, and handed the silver flower grass directly to the Vajra Ape King. The Vajra Ape King cheered, had already taken the silver flower grass, and ate it carefully. Next moment, there were bursts of silver lights all over the King Kong Ape King's body, and subtle changes took place in his aura. Phew, the Vajra Ape King screamed, only to feel his eyelids getting heavier and heavier. Are you going to sleep? Su Yun looked at this scene thoughtfully. This situation is recorded in the book. Generally, this happens when the blood vessels are purified and changed. With a single thought, Su Yun has already brought the Vajra Ape King into the Beast Familiar Space. Only with the help of the power of the Beast Familiar Space. Only King Kong Ape King can quickly complete the transformation. I don't know to what extent the King Kong Ape King's blood will be purified. Su Yun stared at the Vajra Ape King in the Beast Familiar Space, and muttered to himself. Use resources to improve the lineage of the royal beast. Although there is a certain chance of success. But generally speaking, it depends on the potential of the Beast Master and the fit between the resources and the Beast Master itself. So the degree of improvement also varies. Su Yun's expression suddenly changed slightly, and he turned his gaze to another part of the Beast Familiar Space. All I saw was the royal beast egg of the Shadow Beast, which had already begun to tremble faintly. Have you hatched yet? There was a look of joy in Su Yun's eyes, and he summoned him directly. Click. A tiny crack appeared on the imperial beast egg, and traces of faint black air continued to spread out along the crack. Next moment, the crack gradually widened. Eventually it shattered completely. Foofer. With a cry, a round, jelly-like royal beast was already floating in the air. Name, Shadow Beast, view breeding information. Level, Awakening Level 1. Talent, Top Speed Talent LV1, 0/10, Top Dark Control Talent, LV1, 0/10, Advanced Recovery Talent LV1, 0/10. Attribute Dark, Element. Bloodline. Middle King. Skills, Shadow Screen LV1, 0/1, Shadow Blade LV1, 0/1, Shadow Bind LV1, 0/5, Shadow Storm LV3, 0/5, Shadow Flame, 0/30. Natural Evolution, Dark Spar X10, Necromancer Crystal X10, Black Evil Grass X5, King Beast Core X4. Variation and Evolution, Dark Spar X30, Necromancer Crystal X30, King Beast Core X30, Black Evil Grass X10, Dark Core X1. This is the Shadow Beast, the elemental life. It is indeed very magical. Su Yun touched the Shadow Beast, only to feel a strange touch. Foofer. When the Shadow Beast saw Su Yun, its face was full of joy, and it kept circling around Su Yun, rubbing Su Yun's cheek affectionately from time to time. Woo! Xiaobai wagged his tail and greeted his newcomer. The Shadow Beast looked at Xiaobai curiously, and that was also a friendly response. Fortunately, the Shadow Beast doesn't sting like the Vajra Ape King. Su Yun secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Although it's a good thing that the Imperial Beast is aggressive. But from time to time, my own people fight. His master is still a little tired. Come on, let's eat. Su Yun picked up the black eggshells and began to feed the Shadow Beasts. He looked at some resource points he had accumulated in the wild recently, hesitated for a while, and finally made a decision to add points to the Shadow Beasts. Foofer. The Shadow Beast, which was added for the first time, was a little puzzled, but instinctively sensed that this should be something the owner was doing, and let out a cry. Finally, Shadow Blade LV7, Shadow Binding LV5, Shadow Flame LV4. All of a sudden, the Shadow Beast only felt that its whole body was full of strength, and its aura began to rise steadily. Double Awakening, Awakening Triple, Awakening Quadruple. Finally, although the appearance and size of the Shadow Beast haven't changed much, its strength has reached the 6th level of Awakening. Foofer. Subconsciously swallowing the last eggshell, the Shadow Beast's expression was a little confused. He looked at Su Yun in disbelief. I seem to have met an amazing master. There are still a few days, just to use it to improve the strength of the Shadow Beast. Su Yun glanced at the Shadow Beast and thought to himself. Awakening level strength. For him now, It's just too weak. This is still the case even for king-level bloodlines. There is a system. Su Yun didn't intend to let any one of the beasts fall behind too much. Night fell slowly. Su Yun camped under a giant tree, and took out the camping tent that had been prepared a long time ago from the space bag. Then start upgrading the bonfire. Take out a few pieces of meat and start grilling. Now I can be quite leisurely in the wild. Su Yun looked at the grease falling from the meat, and remembered the first time he came to the wild. He didn't dare to start a fire at night, he only dared to eat hard compressed biscuits, with a smile on his face. Wu, Xiaobai lay on Su Yun's shoulder, his eyes fixed on the grilled meat exuding a tempting aroma. Why, you're used to eating nurturing meals, do you want to change your taste too? Su Yun glanced at Xiaobai and said, wait a minute, it will be fine soon. After speaking, Su Yun took the seasoning from the space bag and made a simple seasoning. All the meat that Su Yun roasts is imperial beast meat. This is the most delicious part he got from the beast he hunted. It doesn't need much seasoning. It's very delicious. Do you need it? Su Yun looked at the shadow beast. Fufur, the shadow beast shook its head. As an elemental beast, he has no interest in this kind of meat. Su Yun shook his head and smiled, took out a small part of the grilled meat as his own food, and distributed the rest to Xiaobai. Wu, Xiaobai let out a cry of excitement, ignoring the flames below, and just started eating mouthful after mouthful. Su Yun was also eating barbecue slowly, looking at the stars in the sky, and began to think about the training method of shadow beasts. His first two imperial beasts already had their own paths. Xiaobai lies in the cooperative development between different attributes. The Vajra Ape King is the one who truly breaks through tricks with strength and pursues the ultimate power. And the shadow beast, you must also have your own direction and fighting methods. Suddenly, Su Yun's expression couldn't help but move slightly. He stood up, and the perception had completely spread. In his induction, the two groups are chasing and fleeing. He happened to know the person who ran away, and it was Li Qianer who had fought in World War I. And behind her, it followed several people, among whom there was even a fourth-rank beast master. Judging by the speed of both sides, it was only a matter of time before Li Qianer was caught up. Let's say we know each other. Since we have encountered it, we still need to take care of it. Spiritual art, gigantic. As soon as Su Yun pointed out, Xiaobai, who had already swept away the barbecue, suddenly expanded in size. Walk. With a loud shout, Su Yun had already hugged the shadow beast in his arms, turned over and rode on Xiaobai's body, and gave instructions via sound transmission. Swish! Xiaobai let out a cry, and quickly jumped out with Su Yun, like a ghost, and disappeared completely in the blink of an eye. Among the jungle, noisy voices resounded continuously. Trees collapsed from time to time. The two groups were chasing and fleeing, and skills swept the sky continuously. The one who ran in the front was Li Qianer. His face was already a little pale, and the red flame poisonous butterfly was floating above his head, constantly dropping poisonous powder. And behind him, a group of people were chasing after them, and the leader had a grim look on his face. Their spiritual power continued to erupt. They were obviously a fourth-tier beast master. And beside him, one left and one right, followed by two royal beasts. Name: Purple Dragonfly. Level: Lord Triple. Talent: Advanced Speed Talent. Attribute: Wind, Insect. Bloodline: Low Lord. Skills: Storm Blade, Whirlwind, Noise. Name: Black Cloud Beast. Level: Lord First Level. Talent: Intermediate Strength Talent. Attribute: Common. Bloodline: Low Lord. Skills: Split Claw, Muscle Builder, Roaring Ripple. Purple Dragonfly, blow away these poisonous powders. Johu said with a ferocious face. All of a sudden, gusts of wind raged, and all the poisonous powder had been blown away. But even so, it still effectively blocked the pursuit speed of Johu and others. Even if you have the red flame poison butterfly, you won't be able to hold on for too long, so hurry up and catch it. Zhou Yunhan said in a cold voice. Li Qianer, who was running ahead, didn't say a word, but her expression was faintly hopeless. She came here to participate in the assessment of Fengxing Academy. Just as she was finishing her exams. By luck, he got a royal beast egg with king-level blood, and then he was targeted by these people. There are many people on the other side. There are even fourth-order powerhouses sitting in the town. If it wasn't for relying on the red flame poison disc and his spiritual skills, he might have already been caught up by the opponent. But even so, wait until the spiritual power in her body is exhausted. One can imagine the fate waiting for her. It's not that she hasn't thought about giving up the beast egg. But she didn't think those people would let her go. And at this time, Li Chinner's expression was slightly taken aback. Because there was a white light in front of him. Look carefully. Surprisingly, it was Su Yun who came riding Xiaobai. How did he appear here? Could it be that he came to help me? Thoughts flashed in her mind, and she quickly shouted to Su Yun. What are you doing here? Hurry up and go. Li Qian'er looked a little anxious. This is her own business. Not planning to implicate Su Yun. After all, in her opinion, although Su Yun's strength is good, it is absolutely impossible to be the opponent of these desperados behind him. Since I'm here, I won't give up halfway. Su Yun turned over and landed on Xiaobai's body, and said to Li Qian'er. Let me fix it all for you. As soon as Su Yun's voice fell, Xiaobai, who had already received Su Yun's order, jumped up, and the speed was so fast that it left afterimages in the air. Wait. A look of astonishment flashed in Li Chinner's eyes. He didn't expect Su Yun's actions to be so decisive. In desperation, he could only stop and command the red flame poison butterfly to launch an attack. Next moment, a large number of flames have surged out, enveloping behind. Purple striped dragonfly, fly in the whirlwind. Zhou Hu's voice sounded. A series of whirlwinds raged in all directions, and all the smoke blown by the flames had disappeared. It actually stopped for a while. It's really asking for a dead end. A look of ferocity flashed across Zhou Hu's eyes. He glanced at Su Yun in the distance, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. A third-order little guy actually wants a hero to save the beauty. What a stupid brat. Get rid of that white fox, the black cloud beast. Roar. The black cloud beast roared, and its entire figure jumped up, exuding an extremely brutal aura, and rushed towards Xiaobai. HMPH, I'm overthinking myself. Zhou Hu's subordinates all showed a sneer. The third-tier beast master is indeed a master. But in front of their boss who has 2 lord-level beasts, it's not worth mentioning. I suffered. A look of anxiety appeared on Li Chinner's face. If it was the Vajra Ape King, he still had some confidence. But this white fox, I am afraid that he will be defeated by the black cloud beast in an instant. But the next moment, the expression on Li Qian'er's face froze, and her eyes were wide open, as if she had seen something unbelievable. Xiaobai, the origin is liberated, the ice-cracked claw. Su Yun said indifferently through voice transmission. Woo. Xiaobai looked up to the sky and smiled. His 3 tails danced wildly in midair. His pure white hair looked even more graceful under the bright moonlight. Boom. The terrifying power erupted instantly. 2 completely different breaths of ice and fire rippling. Swish. Next moment, 2 figures, one black and one white, have passed by. PFF. Boom. A large amount of blood splashed out, turned into little ice crystals and fell on the ground. The figure of the black cloud beast staggered and fell to the ground, completely devoid of life. Li Chinner's face was full of shock. Su Yun actually instantly killed a beast of the Lord's first level. This little fox, which is harmless to humans and animals, is even more terrifying than the Vajra Ape King. What a terrifying strength it is. Zhou Hu was also shocked, and a look of heartache flashed in his eyes. This kid who killed him halfway. It's so strong. In addition to heartache, a more terrifying killing intent has erupted from his body. The black cloud beast was the second main force cultivated by dissipating all the wealth, and it died just like that. Unforgivable. This kid must die. What's the matter with this kid? Hey Yun Hu died just like that. The subordinates behind Zhou Hu also showed fear, and began to summon their own beasts one after another, and entered the battle preparations. Are there 8 people? Su Yun looked at these people, his eyes flickered slightly, and he ordered to Xiaobai. Xiaobai, the flame body. Boom. Blazing flames erupted from Xiaobai's body, and his whole body seemed to have turned into a huge ball of fire, rushing towards Zhou Hu's direction. Capture the thief first and capture the king first. Faced with all this, Zhou Hu didn't know what kind of spiritual technique he used. His figure became extremely strange, and he dodged at the nick of time. But the subordinates behind him have been exposed. Terrible flames scorched the earth. An incomparably scorching breath swept across the audience. What kind of monster is this? Block him, grass rock worm, use the rock wall. Seeing Xiaobai coming with raging flames, a beastmaster showed a look of shock on his face, and gave orders to his beastmaster without hesitation. Boom! Kaoyan worm shook its tail. Dolly had already stretched out a rock wall, blocking Xiaobai's front. Spiritual spell, Halo Shield. The beastmaster used the defensive spirit technique again, but his eyes were full of fear. The scene where Xiaobai killed the black cloud beast just now is still vivid in his memory. He could only pray secretly in his heart that he could block Xiaobai's attack even for a moment. But he was doomed to be disappointed. Boom! Terrifying flames erupted. Whether it is a rock wall or a spiritual technique, or grass rockworm in him, all vanished in an instant. The gap between the two sides is really too big. Even if this person is doing his best, there is no way to stop Xiaobai even a little bit. Rumble. The flames spread across the earth. Xiaobai walked out of the flames stepping on a corpse. His pure white body looked extremely strange under the light of the flames. You deal with that woman, and the rest and I deal with him. Zhou Hu watched one of his subordinates die. His face changed again and again, and finally said to one of his subordinates in a cold voice. Yes, boss. Looking at Zhou Hu's fierce gaze, the subordinate's body trembled, and he had already commanded the imperial beast to rush towards Li Qianer, who was not far away. Red flame poison butterfly, poison powder. Li Qianer gritted her teeth fiercely, commanding the red flame poison butterfly to attack her today. The enemy can only be dealt with as soon as possible. Then join the battlefield to share the pressure for Su Yun. Almost at the same time, Zhou Hu has led everyone to besiege Su Yun. Purple striped dragonfly, make noise. Prairie rat, use flying sand. Sand leopard, use earth bombs. With the ringing of orders one by one of the beasts has exploded with a strong momentum, launching a fierce offensive against Xiaobai. All of a sudden, various skills are intertwined in the air. The atmosphere of terror spread throughout the audience, as if to swallow Xiaobai completely. But in the face of all this, whether it was Xiaobai or Su Yun, their expressions did not change at all. Spirituality, ice amplification. Xiaobai, the breath of ice. Xiaobai wagged his tail. Bursts of cold air appeared all over his body. He opened his mouth directly, and the terrifying cold air had already spread out. The air was completely frozen in an instant, endless cold air rippling out in all directions, and the temperature of the entire battlefield began to drop rapidly. Next moment, all the attacks were stagnated in midair, just like that, completely frozen. More than a dozen monsters joined forces to attack, and it was just like that, dissolved invisibly. Spirituality, the increase of fire. Xiaobai, breath of fire. Xiaobai's movements didn't stop at all. His body flickered, and he appeared in another place, as if a flame that could burn everything had already bloomed in his mouth. Boom! Horrific flames instantly swept in all directions, enveloping Zhou Hu and the others like a stormy sea. Block him, strong bull, round thorn. Quote. Zhou Hu and the others changed their expressions, and quickly directed the beast to defend. Boom! Accompanied by an extremely violent roar. The forces of both sides have collided together. Flames blazed throughout the arena. All kinds of forces are raging constantly. It directly caused the earth to become a mess. It's blocked. Zhou Hu and the others had not had time to breathe a sigh of relief. Everyone just felt their eyes blur. Xiaobai's figure rushed into the crowd at some point, and swept out with a claw. Ice claw. Endless cold air broke out. This person didn't even have time to howl. The entire kidney area had already turned into an ice sculpture, which was then completely shattered. His imperial beast also let out a wail, directly hitting the spot severely. Zhou Hu's pupils shrank deeply, and a look of fear flashed in his eyes. Xiaobai's speed is really too fast. Even he didn't have time to react at all. Boss. You can't go on like this. Hurry up and think of something. Seeing the death of their companions, the other people quickly dispersed, and all of them had a look of horror in their eyes. Kill that brat first. Zhou Hu turned his head quickly, letting the purple-striped dragonfly protect him. As soon as he stepped on the ground, the summoning circle quickly appeared, and a huge toad jumped out. Name: Iron Toad. Level: Command the 7th level. Talent, low-level recovery talent. Attribute, steel. Bloodline, high commander. Skills, sound wave, mount tie, iron ball. That's right, kill him first. The other people also showed fierce expressions, and summoned their other royal beasts one after another. All of a sudden, several royal beasts have already rushed towards Su Yun. Su Yun comforted the shadow beast in his bosom who was about to strike, and was about to recall Xiao Bai, but his expression moved slightly. Have you woken up? It's time. Next moment, a summoning circle appeared in front of him. Roar, accompanied by an angry growl. A tall figure had appeared in front of Su Yun, and it was the Vajra Ape King. The Vajra Ape King at this time. The figure has swelled a whole circle, and the muscles all over the body appear stronger and more powerful. As the lineage elevated to High King. After roughly scanning the attributes of the Vajra Ape King, a smile appeared on the corner of Su Yun's mouth, and said, King Vajra Ape, smash fist, kill them. The Vajra Ape King nodded without looking back, his arms were bent and straightened, and a powerful punch had already been bombarded. Click, terrifying power rippled, the air began to shatter at a speed visible to the naked eye, and countless cracks appeared on the ground in front of it. Silently, all the imperial beasts have been completely enveloped by this shattering force, showing incomparable horror. Next moment, everything in front of the Vajra Ape King had been reduced to powder, and before the several imperial beasts even had time to dodge and defend, they wailed and died completely under the punch of the Vajra Ape King. What kind of monster is this again? Is this guy's beast master so strong? Seeing their imperial beast being killed by the King Kong Ape King's punch, fear appeared on everyone's faces. A look of confusion appeared on Zhou face, and he pointed out that the spirit technique had already been cast. Spiritual art, black mist. Between Setsuna, the endless black mist has spread directly, completely covering everything around. Zhou has done all this. Without hesitation, he turned and ran. Now he is determined. I am not Su Yun's opponent at all. There is no point in staying here to fight to the death. As for these men, if you die, you will die. If you can delay Su Yun for a while, that would be great. Want to run? There was a sneer on the corner of Su Yun's mouth, his own perception had been fully exerted, and the surrounding scene had come into his eyes. Vajra Ape King, 9 o'clock direction, smashing fist. The Vajra Ape King didn't hesitate at all, and within a step, his fists were already directly bombarded. Boom! The force of the punch tore through the air again. Zhou's subordinate who was still at a loss in the distance felt a terrifying force before he even had time to react. Quote. He widened his eyes and tried to dodge. But nothing can be done. Next moment, his entire body had been completely shattered, and he died on the spot. And this is just the beginning. The Vajra Ape King shot one after another, and under Su Yun's command, he continued to attack. And in the distance, Zhou has already left the range of the black mist. But there was no time to breathe a sigh of relief. A snow-white fox with 3 tails had already appeared in front of him, looking at him with extremely cold eyes. Look at this fox. Zhou only felt the cold all over his body, but he still gave orders to the purple-patterned dragonfly. Purple-striped dragonfly, use the storm blade. The wings of the purple-striped dragonfly fluttered, and countless small wind blades rippling out, enveloping towards Xiao Bai like a violent storm. Breath of ice. Xiao Bai showed disdain, and the endless cold wind surged out of his mouth, directly freezing the countless gusts of wind, and heading towards Zhou's direction. But in the blink of an eye, the cold wind was already very close to Zhou. The terrifying cold has completely frozen the surrounding ground. No, I can't die here. Purple-striped dragonfly, flying whirlwind. Zhou began to struggle to his death, while commanding the purple dragonfly. On the other hand, he cast defensive spirit spells. All of a sudden, countless whirlwinds raged, but as soon as they appeared, they were completely frozen by the cold wind. The spiritual defense was defeated by one blow. Next moment, one person and one beast had stopped in place, turned into 2 ice sculptures, and their lives were instantly taken away in front of the extremely cold power. Another place. The battle between Li Qianer and Zhou's men was extremely fierce. The 2 imperial beasts are constantly fighting to the death. Although the strength of the red flame poison butterfly is higher than that of the opposing beast. However, Li Qian'er and Qian Poison Butterfly had exhausted most of their physical strength after running away for a long time. But the other party is waiting for work. It directly caused Li Qian'er to fall into a bitter battle. Ha ha ha, beauty, I advise you to surrender. You don't really think that little brat can beat so many of our brothers, do you? Zhou Hu's subordinates looked at Li Qian'er ferociously. While commanding the beast, they also kept putting pressure on Li Qian'er with words. HMPH, you guys don't know what you are facing. Su Yun is very strong, so I trust him. Although Li Qian'er was uneasy in her heart, she didn't say anything. And at this time, the black mist in the distance has dissipated. The sound of fighting inside is gradually becoming clearer. Haha, the boss has lifted the spirit spell, so he must have already solved that kid. The subordinates who had no idea that Zhou Hu wanted to escape still had great confidence in their boss. Su Yun, Li Qian'er bit her lip tightly, with a bitter look on her face. In the end or to die. Unexpectedly, other people were involved. But in the next moment, Li Qian'er's eyes widened, only to see that the black mist has completely dissipated. One person and two beasts have slowly walked out of it. The bodies of the Vajra Ape King and Xiaobai were all stained red with blood, presenting an incomparably weird beauty. Under the protection of the two, Su Yun didn't even have a trace of scars all over his body, not even a mountain in any mess. And everyone including Zhou Hu. They have all died in the hands of Su Yun. How is this possible? What happened? How can you still be alive? Zhou Hu's subordinates were even more horrified, and there was an unconcealable fear in their eyes. Because I live, they are all dead. Is there any incomprehensibility? There was a playful smile on Su Yun's face. Quote, and the last one is you. Export is you word. The smile on Su Yun's face has completely subsided. Roar. The Vajra Ape King let out a roar, and had already launched a charge. Block him, brass boar. Zhou Hu's subordinates hurriedly commanded the beast to fight. Boom. Only a roar was heard. His copper-skinned wild boar with rough skin and thick flesh has been reduced to a puddle of meat under the fist of the Vajra Ape King. Immediately afterwards, Zhou Hu's subordinates were completely covered by a layer of shadows, looking at the eyes of the King Kong Ape King with horror-like copper bells. Next moment, an incomparably huge fist has been continuously enlarged in front of his eyes. Spiritual art, turtle shield art. Zhou Hu's subordinates had surging spiritual power from top to bottom, and they had already turned into an invisible turtle shell, completely covering him. But how terrifying is the power of the Vajra Ape King? Ordinary commanding beasts are not his one-punch enemies at all. He is just a third-tier beast master, how can he compete? Boom! The earth exploded in an instant, showing a deep depression. The Vajra Ape King slowly withdrew his fist, and the ground was already covered with blood. That punch just now, his body has been completely blown up, and there is no bone left. So far, all those who chased and killed them have all died in Su Yun's hands. Seeing that everything was over, Li Qian'er, whose spiritual power was exhausted, could no longer hold on, and sat directly on the ground. Even the red flame poison butterfly fell to the side with a weak breath. Seeing this scene, Su Yun immediately walked over and said, "Is there anything wrong?" "It's nothing, it's just too much consumption." Li Qian'er forced a smile, took out the spiritual fruit to restore physical strength and gave it to herself and Qian Poison Butterfly, and said, "Thank you for your help this time. Otherwise, I'm afraid I will die here. This royal beast egg is also what you deserve." Between talking, Li Qian'er has already taken out a colorful imperial beast egg from the backpack behind her. Name: Colorful Blue Bird. Grade: None. Talent: Advanced Speed Talent, Advanced Wind Control Talent. Attribute: Wind, 040. Bloodline: Inferior King. Skills: Tweeting, Wind Dance, Wind Blade, Whirlwind, Blue Bird Wings. Su Yun glanced at the attributes of the royal beast egg, but did not reach out to pick it up, and said, "You should keep the things." For the current Su Yun, the royal beasts of low-level royal bloodlines are already somewhat despised, not to mention not even having a top-level talent, so naturally they will not be loved by others. This is the royal beast egg of the king's blood, you really don't want it. A look of astonishment appeared on Li Qian'er's face. "I didn't save you for the so-called reward, I just got to know you and wanted to save you." Su Yun shook his head and said, "Okay, I'm going to deal with the battlefield, these are what I deserve. Watching Su Yun leave, Lee Kyener was a little distracted for a moment. She hadn't thought of it at all. Facing the royal beast egg, such a priceless treasure, Su Yun was not tempted at all. What kind of person is this? Lee Kyener muttered to herself in a low voice. But Su Yun in the distance kept searching every corpse, but the joy on his face became more and more intense. This time the harvest is really quite a lot. Johu and his men obviously wandered in the wild all year round. I don't know how many people were killed by them. So wealth is also quite amazing. The only regret. Most of the wealth of Johu and others are all unregistered limit cards, which together reach 110 million. As for other resources, there are not many. The only unexpected surprise. Just found a space bag on Johu's body. The storage area is much larger than his existing one, and it can be replaced. After a few days, night had fallen completely. Su Yun and Lee Kyener have returned from the wild and entered the Jinfeng city. You should also be applying for Fencing University, you must work hard for tomorrow's exam. Lee Kyener looked at Su Yun and said softly. Su Yun said with a smile, to each other, don't tell me you don't have confidence in me. That's right, if you can't get into Fencing University, I'm afraid no one can get in. Lee Kyener shook her head, her face gradually became solemn, and said. The grace of saving life is unforgettable, and Kyener will always remember it. Got it, don't bother. Su Yun waved his hand and disappeared into the night. This guy. Lee Kyener looked at Su Yun's leaving back, she didn't know what she thought of, and a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Early the next morning, Su Yun got up early and started to go to the third high school. Today is the day of the third exam of Fencing University. The entire third high school. Huge guards have been deployed all around. A member of the patrol kept walking by. Among the schools. A huge battlefield. Each area has a metal warehouse. And around. The principals of various schools and important figures in the city have also gathered here. These big shots. All looked up, looking at the virtual screens on the battlefield. At this point the exam has begun. But due to the large number of people. So it will be done in batches. But in one screen. It is showing Lee Kyener's battle. At this time, she has passed the 4th assessment and entered the 5th assessment. This student should be from your No. 1 high school. He is indeed a good seed. With that red flame poisonous butterfly, I am afraid that he is also the best among the third-tier beast masters. I really envy you, old grandson. One of the principals looked at Sun Yan, the principal of No. 1 high school, and said with a smile. Sun Yan shook his head and said, what is this? When it comes to envy, I should be envious of Lao Lu. His student named Su Yun, if he makes progress during this period, he may become a quote, Su Yun, the student who beat Lee Kyener. Become the champion. No way. Hearing Sun Yan's words, all the principals showed surprise. No one can understand what the champion represents better than them. That is the honor of the person with the best grades among hundreds of cities. And although their strength in Jinfeng City is not bad, they have never had a champion in 100 cities. Only Lu Ruai was calm and composed, as if he was as stable as Mount Tai. Although he has no idea whether Su Yun can become the champion. But at least it seemed to him. That's definitely not hopeless. And not far away. The examiners of Fencing University were sitting together. Most of the attention of everyone is also on the best Lee Kyener. This examinee has already passed the 5th test. Her strength is indeed good. I don't know how far she can go. Said an examiner. It's hard to say. After the 5th level, it's not a virtual beast, but a teacher of our Fencing University. In actual combat, everything is possible. Yes, but no matter what, the candidate's grades are enough to be admitted. Everyone kept discussing, and at this time, so one candidate ended the exam. On a virtual screen, the name of the candidate who will take the next exam also appeared, and it was Su Yun for a while. All the examiners' comments have stopped. If it is said that in the entire Jinfeng City, who is the candidate they value most, it is undoubtedly the Cloud. The first 2 exams were scored perfectly. Such grades. Even they are rare. This examinee has always surprised us. I don't know if he can pass the 10-level assessment completely. It's really exciting. An examiner whispered to himself. What are you thinking? Su Yun is indeed a genius, but the 4th level has always been guarded by a teacher at the end of the 4th level, and the beast in his hand is also extremely strong. At this age, it is almost impossible to win the battle. A possible thing, said another examiner. Xiao Feiyu smiled and said, regardless of the outcome, let us wait and see. Finally, it's the kid's turn. Lu Rui's gaze focused on Su Yun, who was slowly walking towards the metal warehouse. Even apart from him, the principals and teachers of some other schools, and even the examiners of Fengsing University, all showed concern. You can say it without hesitation. It starts with the appearance of Su Yun. He is the real protagonist in the field. Su Yun, who was walking forward slowly, had neither sad nor happy expression on his face. It was as if he didn't feel the sight in all directions. He entered the metal storage and directly activated the login button. Next moment, the world changed for a while. Su Yun has appeared in a huge arena. Candidate Su Yun, the Fengsing University exam has officially begun. With the sound of metal sounding in the empty arena. Silently, in front of Su Yun, a royal beast has slowly taken shape. Name: Red Soil Lizard. Level: Extraordinary 9 layers. Talent: Low-level defense talent. Attribute: Soil. Bloodline: Superior and Extraordinary. Skills: Rush, Coil, Earth Spike. There were no signs of it. As soon as the red soil lizard appeared, it started to run fast, let out a brutal roar, and rushed towards Su Yun. Come out, Vajra Ape King. Su Yun snapped his fingers lightly. The summoning circle emerged. The huge figure of the Vajra Ape King has slowly stepped out. Roar. The Vajra Ape King let out a roar, looked at the rushing red soil lizard, and subconsciously slapped it out. Boom, accompanied by a muffled sound. The red earth lizard didn't even have time to howl, its entire body exploded, turning into specks of starlight and disappearing. First test passed. The second exam begins. The metallic sound sounded again, and another imperial beast took shape not far in front of Su Yun. This is a royal beast with the 1st level of leadership. But still no surprises. The Vajra Ape King still didn't use his skills, and kicked him flying with a random kick. Before the time even passed 5 minutes, Su Yun had already finished the previous 5 exams. King Kong Ape King, as always, relied on his strength to simply and rudely kill his opponent in seconds, ending the battle. Everything like that, let all the people watching the battle show a touch of shock. Although Su Yun's strength has long been expected. But today's performance, still far beyond everyone's expectations. Congratulations to the candidate for completing 5 exams. According to the rules, you can apply for a 10-minute break. A metallic sound sounded slowly. Continue, Su Yun said lightly. He knows. These 10 minutes are for the examinee to adjust his state and formulate tactics, but before the start of this exam, he has already made all the preparations. The virtual beast masters in the first 5 rounds are not troublesome at all, so naturally there is no need to use the rest time. Yun is really confident that the 6th exam will start so soon. When some candidates saw this scene, their faces were filled with admiration. At least they don't have the guts of Su Yun. Even if you know that those 10 minutes will not help, you will never give up easily. Under everyone's gaze, opposite to Su Yun, a refined middle-aged man has appeared. The Confucian man looked at Su Yun and said, I am your next opponent, I hope you can go all out. After all, I won't show mercy. Su Yun said flatly, it's a matter of course. Next moment, the refined man has already summoned his imperial beast. It was a humanoid royal beast, with a black carapace all over its body, and it had already revealed an extraordinary grudge just as soon as it appeared. The first impression it gives people is that this is definitely a battle-hardened warrior. Name: Beetle Fighter. Level: Command the Eightfold. Talent: Intermediate Recovery Talent, Low-level Defense Talent. Attribute: Insect. Bloodline: Low Lord. Skills: Sonic Boom Fist, High-Speed Strike, Continuous Lifting. Beetle Fighter: Use high-speed dash to get close to the opponent, and then smash punches continuously. The elegant man gave an order. Swish. Almost at the moment when the Confucian man's voice fell, the Beetle Fighter had already moved, and while he was running, he had already come directly in front of the Vajra Ape King, with bursts of dangerous aura exuding from his fists. He's really merciless. Now Su Yun is careless. Some examiners from Fengsing University shook their heads. They know the teacher's style. Once he let his imperial beast get close, what was waiting was the opponent's continuous fists. It is very likely that the opponent's attack will not be interrupted until you lose your combat effectiveness. So, how do you deal with it? Xiao Feiyu stared at the virtual screen with flickering eyes. And at this time, Su Yun's voice sounded, "Vajra Ape King, get out of the way." The King Kong Ape King's eyes flickered, showing extraordinary speed, and every time he seemed to be in danger, he easily dodged all of them. Bang, bang, bang. The beetle fighter punched one after another, constantly bombarding the air, causing the air to explode. Even the beetle fighter who has experienced many battles can't help becoming impatient. There was an unconcealable surprise on the refined man's face. The speed of the Vajra Ape King had far exceeded his expectations. But at this moment, Su Yun's voice has already sounded again. Vajra Ape King, the strange power explodes. Li Qinhao, defeat it. The Vajra Ape King showed a sinister smile, and when he stepped out, the muscles all over his body swelled up, and he just punched out. Boom. The fist was obviously not fully extended, and the rippling wind pressure had already made the field turbulent. Even the refined man in the distance was forced to take a step back by the pressure of the wind, making him subconsciously give an order. Get out of the way, beetle fighter. The beetle fighter roared, all eyes filled with horror. It also wants to hide. But that physical fist pressure seemed to turn the air around it into a swamp, making his movements extremely slow. Boom, accompanied by a muffled sound. Under everyone's inconceivable gaze, the figure of the beetle fighter flew upside down, completely losing the ability to stand up under this punch. This moment, everyone was silent. What a formidable young man, he even knocked down the beetle fighter with a single punch. The elegant man glanced at Su Yun, then shook his head with a wry smile, and then disappeared completely. Immediately afterwards, Su Yun declined the request to rest. Continue to the next battle. Soon, Su Yun's opponent in the 7th match appeared. This is a very thin man with a gentle smile on his face. He greeted Su Yun friendly. He has already summoned his own beast. Name, Fury Blood Beast. Level, Command the 9 layers. Talent, Advanced Strength Talent. Attribute, Ordinary. Bloodline, Low Lord. Skills, Blood Shadow Clash, Blood Flash, and Roaring Cannon. Raging Blood Beast, Blood Shadow Clash. The skinny man ordered. Roar. The Blood Shadow Beast roared. Its huge body had already launched a charge, and the whole body was faintly surrounded by blood light. Boom. Wherever the impact passed, the air was torn apart. When all the students saw this scene, the expressions on their faces changed drastically. This teacher is very powerful. At least none of the candidates present thought that they would be the opponent of this 3rd-tier peak beast master. But Su Yun on the opposite side. His expression was still calm, and he said lightly, Vajra Ape King, the strange force exploded, stop it. The Vajra Ape King stretched out his hands, and the muscles all over his body bulged like steel, just waiting for the impact of the angry blood beast. Boom. The angry blood beast slammed into the chest of the Vajra Ape King, and there was a violent roar from the terrifying impact force, and there were waves of air visible to the naked eye in the surrounding air, rolling away in all directions. In this invisible air wave, the Vajra Ape King stood in place, as if he was a standing mountain, not to mention taking even a step back, and his body didn't even move at all. How can that be? The thin man stared wide-eyed, and his eyes were all filled with disbelief. He just didn't let the Rage Blood Beast hold back at all. With the Rage Blood Beast's advanced strength talent, if he was replaced by other Imperial Beasts, even if he didn't die on the spot, he would end up with broken bones. But who would have thought? The Vajra Ape King remained motionless, as if he just stopped a naughty child. What is the extent of the terrifying power of this Imperial Beast? Roar. The Vajra Ape King raised his head to the sky and let out a roar. His hands had already firmly grasped the body of the raging blood beast. Ignoring his struggles, he fell hard to the ground. Boom. The earth exploded in an instant. The angry blood beast let out a wailing cry. And this is just the beginning. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of violent roar resounded continuously. The angry blood beast was like a sandbag, being dragged and smashed back and forth by the Vajra Ape King with both hands. The entire ground showed depressions visible to the naked eye. Stop it, I lost. The thin man admitted defeat with a wry smile. He has seen it. The strength of the Vajra Ape King is far superior to that of the raging blood beast. This is simply a monster whose strength cannot be judged by level. I didn't expect Su-yun to come to this point so quickly. Being able to pass the 7th exam can be said to be the best among all the candidates in the entire Federation. But it won't be that simple. The teacher who will appear later is the Beast Master who is really responsible for teaching the battle. Whether it is strength or combat experience, they are somewhat beyond the level of high school students. All the examiners of Fengsing University began to discuss. The 8th test has begun. A figure slowly appeared on the ring. This Abob, as a sturdy man, a full 2 meters tall, just standing there gives people an extraordinary sense of oppression. More importantly, the spiritual power emanating from the burly man has reached the level of a 4th-rank Beast Master. In the 8th test, the 4th-rank Beast Master appeared. All the candidates looked at this strong man and took a deep breath. For them as students, it is already difficult for ordinary 4th-tier powerhouses to overcome the mountain. Not to mention that this burly man is also a teacher of Fengsing Academy. It is definitely not comparable to ordinary Tier 4 powerhouses. This is the examination room of Jinfeng City, right? I didn't expect that there would be a heavenly group who could come to the 8th examination. The burly man glanced at Su-yun curiously, then at the Vajra Ape King, and said, "But you should stop here. With the commander-level beast familiar, it is impossible to defeat me." Su-yun said slowly, "Who wins and who loses, you have to fight to know." "Well said, let's start." The burly man laughed loudly and said, "Come out, Death-Scythe Beast." The summoning circle emerged. An incomparably sharp aura has already stirred up in the field. Only one was 2 meters tall. The imperial beast with 4 sickle-like arms has appeared in the arena. Name: Death Sickle Beast. Level: 2nd level of the Lord. Talent: Advanced Speed Talent. Attribute: Wind. Bloodline: Middle Lord. Skills: Wind Blade Slash, Storm, Gather Force, Flash Quickly. It seems that it is not simple. Su-yun stared at the Death-Scythe Beast, with a dignified expression on his face. The sharp breath coming towards his face made his skin ache. Roar. The Vajra Ape King also seemed to feel the threat, and let out a violent roar, and the invisible sound waves caused ripples in the surrounding air. Spiritual art. Gigantic. Without any hesitation, Su-yun's spiritual art has been fully displayed. Between Setsuna, the Vajra Ape King hammered his chest continuously with his fists, and his huge body, which was already a foot away, began to grow rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye under everyone's horrified eyes. Finally, a huge monster with a height of 10 feet away, which looks like a small mountain, has appeared in everyone's eyes. It exudes endless violent aura from top to bottom, as if it is an ancient fierce god, standing on the battlefield. How huge! Seeing the King Kong King whose body had expanded 10 times, like a building, everyone's faces were filled with shock. My god, what kind of spiritual art is this? Is it really shocking? If you get punched by him, you will definitely die. Countless students looked at King Kong King's huge fist, and all swallowed subconsciously. I didn't expect there to be such a whole card. An examiner from Fengsing University sighed softly. This spiritual technique is probably not as simple as getting bigger. That's right. Xiao Feiyu nodded solemnly, and said, I'm afraid that compared to its size, the power of this imperial beast has reached a whole new level. It seems that the outcome of this match is still unknown. Seeing this mighty King Kong King, everyone held their breath, waiting for the start of this battle. I see. It seems that this battle will be very interesting. The burly man's eyes flickered slightly, and he said, but it's still not that easy for you to beat me. After all, there are times when fighting. It's not that the bigger the body, the stronger it is. Death Scythe, use Quick Flash, use your speed against him. The words of the burly man answered in the air. The figure of the Death Scythe beast has left afterimages in the air, and began to quickly approach the King Kong Ape King beast. The Vajra Ape King roared, and punched out directly, but was easily dodged by the Death Scythe beast, and directly bombarded the ground. Boom! As the ground trembled, it began to explode at a speed visible to the naked eye. Such destructive power made the strong man's eyelids twitch. No, you must not get even a single punch from him, otherwise it would be too dangerous. It's not a good way to approach rashly, it must be killed with one blow. The strong man's heart trembled, and he said to the death-scythe beast, "Use Julie." The figure of the death-scythe beast appeared in another place, with a fierce aura surging from all over its body, and the aura on its body also began to rise steadily. It's not that easy. King Kong Ape King, death charge. As soon as King Kong's Ape King stepped on the ground, his whole body seemed to be like a prehistoric beast, rushing in the direction of the death-scythe beast. Death sickle beast, don't fight. The death-scythe was dodged by its body shape, and while using its own speed to continuously dodge King Kong's attacks, its aura did not stop improving. Is it okay to go on like this? Oops, the speed of the death sickle beast has an absolute advantage. Once the death sickle beast exerts its power to the extreme, the blow it unleashes is absolutely terrifying to the extreme. Seeing such a scene, all the candidates showed nervousness. Principal. Why isn't this kid in a hurry? He just let King Kong Ape Wong Meng attack, there is no other tactics. Zhou Daifeng said to Lu Ruai anxiously. Lu Ruai's expression was also a little worried, and in the end he could only shake his head and say, "At this point, we can only trust Su Yun. In any case, Su Yun is the pride of our number 9 middle school." And at this time, the aura of the death-scythe beast has swelled to the extreme. An invisible sharp breath directed towards the vertical and horizontal directions in all directions, constantly tearing the surrounding air. A gleam flashed in the eyes of the burly man, and he even activated a spirit technique. Spiritual art, sharp. Between Setsuna, the 4 arms of the death-scythe beast have been turned into magical weapons that can cut everything, exuding a cold light visible to the naked eye. Okay, is it over? All the students sighed softly when they saw this scene. An examiner said to Xiao Feiyu, "Mr. Xiao, it seems that the outcome of this battle has already been decided, but Su Yun's ability to reach this point is also 10 points. Xiao Feiyu didn't answer, just frowned slightly, looking at Su Yun with a calm expression. This is not the look of about to lose at all. But he couldn't imagine either. How should this situation be resolved? Death sickle beast, use wind blade slash to deal with it. The burly man shouted loudly. A sharp look flashed in the eyes of the death-scythe beast, and invisible wind blades began to ripple out from the blade-like arms, as if to cut everything apart. Swish, accompanied by a piercing sound. The figure of the death-scythe beast has torn through the air at an unimaginable speed, and with an unimaginable momentum, it has come to the King Kong Ape King. Chick, chick, between the blooming of the cold light. The terrifying blade was getting closer and closer to the Vajra Ape King, as if it wanted to cut it apart. It's time, Vajra Ape King, harden. Su Yun said via voice transmission. 0. Between Setsuna, the entire body of the Vajra Ape King had a metallic luster. Is it just passive defense? Xiao Feiyu shook his head lightly. The death-scythe beast, which has concentrated its power to the extreme, coupled with spirit spells, the attack power of this moment cannot be blocked by more than one skill. But the next moment, Xiao Feiyu's face showed a look of shock. Pooh! The sound of blood spattering sounded. Several bloodstains appeared on King Kong's body, and the blood flowed down his chest. But everyone is sluggish, because they can see clearly. Although the Vajra Ape King was bleeding, it just scratched the surface of the skin. It was not a serious injury at all, it could only be regarded as a skin trauma. The 4th rank Beast Master commanded the beast's all-out attack, leaving only skin wounds. What are you kidding? I went, but only one skin was broken. What kind of defense is this? Is there any mistake? I am dreaming. My God, what did this great ape grow up on? Hardening my Beast Master will also do it, but it doesn't look like a skill no matter how you look at it. The sound of exclamation continued to resound. Everyone's face is full of incredible colors. It's unimaginable that such a defensive power will appear on a commander-level Beast Master. With such defensive power, is it really a beast that a high school student can cultivate? The burly man also lost his mind slightly, but when he saw King Kong King's actions, his expression finally changed, and he hurriedly shouted, "Get out of the way, death-scythe." But his words were not yet finished. The huge palm of the Vajra Ape King has already firmly grasped the death-scythe beast in his hand. Squeak! The death-scythe beast let out a huge wail, and the terrifying power of the Vajra Ape King made him tremble all over his body. Immediately afterwards, King Vajra Ape King's other hand had already tightly clenched him, and he suddenly exerted force with both hands. Crack, puff. The body of the Death Scythe beast exploded instantly, and a large amount of blood flowed from the hands of the King Kong Ape King. Roar. 370. The Vajra Ape King roared up to the sky, hammering his chest with both hands continuously, making a sound like beating a drum. Everyone looked at the roaring Vajra Ape King, their minds were shaken, and their bodies couldn't help but tremble uncontrollably. It turned out to be in this way, won the victory. Xiao Feiyu had a look of admiration on his face. The defense power of the Vajra Ape King. It was also completely beyond his expectations. It even goes far beyond the category of General Lord level Beast Masters. 9 games, come to the 9th game. Zhou Daifeng looked excited. Yeah, maybe. Or no. 9 High School will really have a champion. Lu Ruai clenched her fist subconsciously. Such an honor. Even in his state of mind, it was no longer possible to keep calm. And at this moment, Su Yun's new opponent has appeared. This is a handsome man wearing a cloak. He walked forward slowly, with a faint glint in his eyes. It turned out to be Chu Tianyan. Isn't he usually guarding the 10th exam? Looking at the man who appeared, all the examiners showed a look of astonishment on their faces. Among all the student opponents arranged for this 3rd test, Chu Tianyan is definitely the best among them. Even among Tier 4 powerhouses. Definitely a strong character. Did not expect to appear here. It's really amazing to be able to cultivate a commander-level beast master to this level. Chu Tianyan glanced at the Vajra Ape King with a hint of admiration on his face. Thanks for the compliment. Su Yun nodded, with a look of caution in his eyes. Judging only by breath, Su Yun can be sure. This man is strong. It is far from being comparable to the previous opponents. I'm just stating a fact, your beast master is indeed good enough. But anyway, this is my job, so I will never show mercy. Come on, let's start fighting. The summoning circle emerged. A huge and incomparable shadow has enveloped the earth. A giant beast several feet away has already stepped out of the magic circle. Name: Steel Behemoth. Level: Lord 4. Talent: Advanced Strength Talent, Advanced Defense Talent. Attribute: Steel. Bloodline: High Lord. Skills: Metal Skin, Explosive Fist, Gigantic, Roaring Shockwave. The Iron Behemoth, transformed. Chu Tianyan said. Next moment, the body of the giant steel beast also began to swell. Although the increase in size was far less than that of the gigantic one, considering his already huge and unusual size, the whole body was not inferior to the giant steel beast at all. Looking into the distance, in the arena, 2 behemoths confronted each other there. Although not done yet, but it already exudes an extraordinary sense of oppression. What kind of battle will this be? Looking at the 2 extremely oppressive figures in the field, everyone was already nervous. Steel Behemoth, Roaring Shock Wave. Chu Tianyan took the lead in ordering. Roar. The steel behemoth roared upwards, and an invisible impact was already brewing in his mouth. Boom. The air exploded in an instant, and the terrifying sound waves enveloped the King Kong Ape King like cannonballs. Where the sonic shells passed, not only the air was torn apart, but even the ground below was oppressed and shattered. King Vajra Ape, Death Rush. A savage look flashed in King Kong's eyes, his whole body emitted a faint white light, and he had launched a charge without fear. Boom. Accompanied by a huge roar. The Vajra Ape King had already slammed into the sound wave. The surrounding air was in chaos. After a moment of stalemate between the two, the sound wave has completely exploded and completely disappeared. Well done. Chu Tianyan nodded slightly, and once again gave out an admiration, but his attack was still merciless, and he had already pointed at the King Kong monster. Spiritual Spell, Wind Entanglement. The body of the Vajra monster seemed to be entwined with a breeze, and suddenly burst out at a speed that did not match its size. Its body was covered with metal skin, and it rushed directly towards the Vajra Ape King. Roar. The Vajra Ape King is also full of fighting spirit, and his whole body is also facing towards the opponent. Boom. The bodies of the 2 behemoths collided, and a muffled sound like thunder erupted immediately. Where the bodies collided, sparks even appeared faintly, and a wave of air visible to the naked eye also centered on the 2, rolling towards all directions. Go. The 2 sides looked at each other. No doubts. Already instinctively launched a stormy offensive towards the opponent. Boom, boom, boom. The earth-shattering roar resounded continuously. The entire battlefield continued to crack and tremble. The two behemoths have launched the most primitive fight on the field. Both giant beasts have extraordinary defense and strength. The way of fighting is also extremely rough. All of a sudden, the two sides were evenly matched. As expected of you, Su Yun, you are truly a monster-like imperial beast. Li Qianer, who had already finished her exam, looked at the battle in the field, and her eyes were filled with splendor. As once played against Su Yun, she who saw Su Yun destroy several wild beast masters. But deeply no, this is not Su Yun's full strength at all. At least the King Kong Ape King's fist that could crush everything was never used from the beginning to the end. Not to mention Xiao Bai, who looks cute but is actually scarier than King Kong Ape King. That is, although the teacher in this game is strong, it may not be able to stop Su Yun's progress. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.